joke's on me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is June on this Monday, June 1st, 2026 transmission, the first Owen report of June. Can you believe that? How many times do I have to say that today before it sinks in? It's June. It's June, and while though it is a new month, it's the same war. It's the same war, guys. It's the same war from April or June of last year. I don't know. I can't keep up. It's the same damn story today. But, you know, with every cycle of Trump teasing or reaching a peace deal, and then with every cycle we see Israel blow it up, literally, and then we see Trump have to come back to the negotiating table, and then we see the political debate back and forth about what is doing this. And one thing remains. You, the American, of course, we are an international audience now, but you, the American, most specifically, you continue to pay the price. You continue to pay the price for this war. And it was just last month we were told, we all know the digital influence campaigns. Gas will be down by June. Gas will be $3, $2 a gallon by this summer. No, not the case as we start June. So we are going to revisit a couple other things today as we do enter a new month. It's the official start of summer now. And so we're going to revisit some stories that are kind of cropping back up today beyond just the Iran situation and the deal or lack thereof, or there was a deal, there wasn't a deal. Israel, of course, and the Israeli lobby, they're playing the victims today. Israel's done nothing wrong. They can't believe how Israel is so unpopular. They can't believe why you wouldn't support this war in Iran, and on and on and on. They're the perpetual victims. We're going to review all of that. And you have to wonder, I guess really you don't have to wonder what Trump is thinking. Trump's already said he's not thinking about the American people's financial situation, so we know he's not thinking about that if you take him at his word. Trump said he's not thinking about the midterms, so we know what he's not thinking about. What is he thinking about with these deals? Or does it even matter? Does he even have any agency over the situation? We're going to review all the latest there. We do have some tech news, some data center news, some other tech news that may interest you today. Most of it is data center news, though. And I guess we'll be looking at another one of these local protests. These are supposedly Chinese agents, is what we're being called. It's funny, I didn't see any. I didn't see that. I did bring a video of it. There is a video, a local town stopping a data center from being built. Not finding any Chinese agents. This is what the Republican Party wants you to believe ahead of the midterms, that this anti-data center momentum is all foreign bots and Chinese propaganda, because they're in a data center war with you. This is what the Republicans want you to believe ahead of the midterms, but that's simply because the Republicans need an excuse for pushing this unpopular policy of turning the United States into one giant AI data center, which, of course, many people believe is ultimately to be used as a surveillance state. So this isn't popular. They have to find a way to rebrand this during the midterms. They're going with it's a Chinese propaganda campaign. I'm not seeing that. It looks to be all American to me. So we're going to review that. Also a little crypto news. The Clarity Act is in the headlines today. We'll take a look at that. And it's one of those things, you try to read this stuff, good luck. It's all written so, you know, bankers and lawyers can get whatever they want out of it. And then you, the taxpayer with your government representatives, you don't have a damn clue what it's actually saying. You don't know what any of this means as far as how it applies to you. But the Clarity Act is back in the news today, and it seems like the real fight here is you have DC and the donor class that was originally anti-crypto for the very reasons crypto is popular with libertarians, for the very reasons crypto is popular with, grassroots, organic, small government movements. Well, now DC has embraced crypto, and they just see it as another way to steal money. They just see it as another money laundering opportunity. So they want to kind of have their new language and interpretation of crypto written in this bill so that they can just continue to steal money. And now the bankers that, of course, were originally against it as well, well, now they've embraced it, but they want the same regulatory standards that the banks have to go through. And then they use their same excuses that get brought down on them, which is, well, we need to make sure it's not being used for drugs and any illegal activity. So the bankers have now embraced it, but they want to be a part of it and they want it regulated. DC has now embraced it. They want to be a part of it, but they want it not as regulated. And so now it's just another one of these things where the people want to get behind something that is organic, that is grassroots, that can liberate them from the matrix, from the control grid. And now DC is so involved and interweaved with it, it's almost now defeating the purpose. So we'll take a quick look at that. What else? A little economic news today. Oh. Trump plans to drop the weaponization fund. Oh, boy. I'd have to go back and see. I don't know if we predicted that or not, but anytime it looks like there might be a shiny object on the hill, there might be a beacon, the light goes out. The light goes out every damn time. And then we got some sports slop for you today as well, which, you know what? You should be thanking me for. You should be thanking me for the sports slop and the entertainment slop. And I've realized why over this weekend. I've realized why. I've discussed it before. It's okay. You can still give me a hard time when we're doling out the slop. But it does serve a purpose. It does serve a purpose. It proved itself this weekend. So I will explain that. All right. So we've got all of that and more coming up on today's transmission. Folks, you're thinking about going to the beach, maybe the lake, the pool. You're thinking about you need a dry bag. You need a waterproof bag to keep your phone and anything else you want to bring with you. Your money, your cards, your wallet, your keys. You want to keep this stuff dry. You need another dry bag. If you're in the market for a bag right now, you need to check out my friends at Silent. That's slnt.com/Owen. And listen to this. Not only are Silent bags sleek and efficient, whether it's their backpacks, the concealed carry bags, the crossbody bags, or before the political correctness took over, the fanny packs, or this summer you need a dry bag. Not only are they sleek and efficient, they also come with military-grade technology. What am I talking about? Well, you probably figured it out by now. Your cell phones, they're spying on you. They're tracking you. They're tracing you. So what can you do about it? Well, you got to put your phone in one of these bags. It's called a Faraday bag. Well, what they've done at Silent is they have taken normal bags that everybody uses every day, whether you're traveling or just going to the park with your family, whatever it is, you use a bag every day. So now what Silent has done is they've just put this technology in the bags that you're already using every day to block your cell phone from tracking and tracing you. You just put it in the bag. Also, not to mention the harmful radio waves that come off of these things, your laptop, your tablets, all of this stuff. It also blocks that. And if you've got one of these bags like a fanny pack, or it might be, hanging over your boys, you don't want that thing blasting the boys. You know what I'm saying? Let's just go ahead and stop that right here, right now. So if you're in the market for a new bag, why not get one that stops your phones from tracking and tracing you and from unleashing that harmful radio wave into your body? All you got to do is go to slnt.com/Owen. Right now, 15% off 15% off plus free shipping on qualifying orders when you use that unique URL there at the bottom of the screen, slnt.com/Owen. 15% off plus free shipping on qualifying orders.
Turn my flip to 1-1.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
We got a message for you guys. We got a message for you from Trump today. I want to know how you guys receive this. Start us off like this on a Monday. What's the reception like for you here, guys? Can you hear me now? Can you hear Trump now? Prices are down. Income is up. Our border is closed. Gasoline is cheap. Inflation is dead. Our country is booming. Companies are pouring into America like never before. Well, the only thing I think you could argue is true is that the border is closed. I think that's the only thing that you could even make a case for here from President Trump today. But actually, you could play devil's advocate and argue that the border is not closed either. You could say illegal immigration has stopped and border security has increased. But no, foreigners are still pouring in here. We actually have a story about that's happening in Texas that's really crazy, actually. And if you're in Frisco or North Dallas, you're seeing this firsthand, but it's even crazier. Or if you're in Houston, where they've just put up a giant Hindi god statue. It's like the third tallest statue in America, I think now. A giant Hindi goddess. So you can go be a part of that history. Right here in Texas. Run by Republicans, by the way. Run by Republicans. How do you like that? And they fund Republicans. The Indians that are moving here, they do fund Republicans. So it's a bit of an identity crisis, actually, if you're a right-wing conservative here in Texas. But I don't know if you could say anything there of what Trump said is totally true. But this is the message. And I forget what it was. I don't know if it was a replay that I was hearing. I think it was a replay because I haven't seen anything live from Trump today. So I think it was a replay I was seeing. And it wouldn't even matter because he has said the same thing probably 100 times. And it hit me like it's hit me the last dozen times, but then it strikes me in such a way. It feels like something I need to say on air. This is just the reality here. And if you're on X, it's like worse than ever as far as this example is concerned. But this is everywhere. And this is kind of like it comes both ways. But here's what you realize. You listen to Trump. I'm listening to a clip of Trump. I think it's from over the weekend. I'm listening to this morning, and it's just on some news feed. And I'm like, oh, okay. Trump has said this exact same thing 20 different times in the last year and a half. And so what you realize is it's like, how can you possibly, it's so simple that you couldn't even believe it. But it is really this simple. Trump just goes up there and it's not even necessarily fair to say he's lying. He just goes up there and makes stuff up. But it's like a script. It's like a script. And so it doesn't matter. It's like he's always going to say the exact same thing. And this has been happening now for about the last year. And so every time I hear this clip from Trump, it's like I've heard this 12 times now. So I understand if you don't follow the news, like if you're not actually listening to what Trump says every day, then you have no clue what's actually going on. And so that's where we have this big disconnect, I think, in MAGA, is you have MAGA that are just cheerleaders. And if you notice something about cheerleaders, they actually aren't watching the game. The cheerleaders always have their backs to the game. You notice that? And by the way, I don't see any cheerleaders going on television as football analysts, by the way. Just saying. Just saying. So see, this is the perfect analogy. The Trump cheerleaders, they don't watch the game. The Trump cheerleaders, they don't see what's actually happening on the field. They're not watching it. They're just projecting onto you the high leg kicks and the pom-poms and the uniforms like, hey, team spirit. Hey, we're cheering along. They're doing the same song and dance whether the team is winning or losing. And they're not watching the game. And that's what it's become. So you have this MAGA cult that's not watching the game and is just cheerleaders. And then you're sitting here, you're actually watching the game. You're actually following the developments. And it's like, here comes Trump again. It's like if you just watched your favorite football team run the exact same play action pass 5 times and get sacked. So here they come. Here comes Trump under center for Team MAGA. And he takes the snap and he fakes it to the running back. And then he turns over his right shoulder to roll out to his left and then sacked. And we're sitting here like, oh my God, you just ran the same play again. We're sick of this play. Stop running this play. You keep getting sacked from the blind side. Stop it. And then here they go again. And they're lining up to run the same play. They're running the same play, and we're just like pulling our hair out like, no, not this again. No, it's 3rd and 10. Don't run this play. Please, for the love of God, you're going to get sacked. You're going to get sacked. Don't run the play. And then they run out there. They get in the same formation to run the same play. And then what are the cheerleaders doing? Go Trump. Go Trump. Go Trump. And they're doing their dance and they're doing the high leg kicks and they got the pom-poms. And everyone in the crowd is like, no, don't. Please, God, no, it's going to be a sack. No. The cheerleaders, Trump. And then, hut. He runs back. He fakes the handoff. He turns around. Boom. And we're like, yep, there it is. There's the sack. Line it up again. And then they punt. And so we're just sitting here like, we're actually watching the game. We're watching Trump just say the same garbage, the same script, the same propaganda. We're watching the same play get run and run again. We're watching the same cheerleaders run on the field like it's not happening. And it's just like how, aside from the analogy being perfect, because it is just an analogy at the end of the day, how can you be so out of touch? I mean, because it's like eventually the cheerleaders figure out what's going on, even if they're not watching the game. Eventually they figure out what's going on, you know, eventually they get it. Now they might still have to run on the field and, you know, shake their derriere, but eventually they figure out what's going on. These MAGA cheerleaders, it's like they refuse to accept what's going on. They refuse to accept it. But here's the example now, and this is why I'm kind of prefacing this, where it's like, all right, you're in June, we're in a new month, we're in a new season. You're really getting into it with what's left of the primaries. So you're in kind of your final phase. Summer's starting, kids are out of school, weather's starting to heat up. You're in the final phases of the primary. Oh yeah, it's a new season in America, baby. It's a new season. And when we get out of this, this is your last season. This is your last kind of period of time before it's full-on midterm American politics. So we sat here. You may remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was a digital influence campaign. We called it out day one, 2 weeks ago. And all of them were saying there was some prediction or some headline that they were all told to go promote. And the message was, see, gas prices are going down. See, crude per barrel will be $60 a barrel by summer. We all sat here. We all watched it. Same cheer that we see every time. Oh, this summer gas prices are going down. Americans will be so happy. You're going to be so happy this summer. You want to take a summer road trip. The gas prices will be down. They all told you. They shouted it with the utmost confidence. Oil prices rise 3% on June 1st as Brent crude hits $93.86 per barrel. Now, this could get worse, but it's not getting better. Now, I did a bit of reading on this today because it was in this, for I guess people that cover the oil markets look at the beginning of a month as kind of a big day in the news themselves. When will gas prices go down? A year or more for prices to fully recover. So if you follow kind of the oil market news, first of the month is always like a big day for oil market news. Everybody's trying to get a story out. So the big theme for today was and this is how they're looking at it, and they're analyzing a bunch of different factors. Obviously, they're analyzing the war. They're analyzing who's moving oil, who's able to move oil, who's not able to move oil, who's purchasing oil, where people are purchasing oil from. And then it'll focus on specifically the American economy and using all of these different measurements, and then kind of the umbrella formula of oil per barrel plus world reserves, or American oil reserves specifically. Pretty much everybody is writing today. These aren't the MAGA cheerleaders, by the way. These aren't the MAGA cheerleaders that are 0 for 12 on this story. These are the people that are just following the oil markets. And they're saying, based off of these other metrics, if the administration can't get oil down below $90 per barrel by August, then there's going to be a serious recession in the United States of America. Now, again, this is just what this is for whatever reason, they're all writing this story today. And it may have first been in a Bloomberg headline. Now, to me, connecting these two things might be fair, might not be fair. We're already in a recession. We're already in inflation. All of these things are already happening. The real important metric here is, because this is when you're really going to start hearing about it. The real important metric here is Americans on average have had to increase their budget for gas per month about $200, $300. Maybe most can afford that right now in their budget. Maybe that's within the margins right now of most people's budgets. If this number gets to $400 or $500 a month, and you start seeing it reflected in grocery prices, and you start seeing it reflected in energy prices, now you're like $500, $600 a month. Now these are margins that are so tight, I don't know if a lot of Americans can afford these increases of cost. And that's kind of what they're measuring with this whole August estimation. Because when you look at credit card debt, when you look at delinquencies, and when you look at repossessions, all of these things are at record highs right now in the United States of America. Debt, delinquencies, and repossessions. All of these things are at record highs. So this indicates we're talking about unaffordability crisis. And so what these numbers, what they're measuring is that Americans got about 2 or 3 more months in this unaffordability crisis. And if you cannot bring gas prices down, there's no air left. It's like you've got a little bit of oxygen left in the tank right now to try to make this thing livable. But if you exhaust that oxygen and you can't replace it or fix this by August, serious economic issues. Maybe you're sick of the midterms. Maybe you're not. Maybe you care. Maybe you don't. But let's say it. This is a political talk show. That will be such a major indicator for the midterms that I don't know if Republicans can win anything at that point, because it will be blamed on Trump. If it gets so bad in the fall, no other issue will even matter. So all the stuff we kind of talk about as the swing issues right now, foreign policy, the data centers, if we get into a economic situation that is that bad, none of these issues are even going to matter. Now, neither will voting, quite frankly. Neither will voting. But it's like that kind of feels like what we're looking at right now. That's what we're all kind of wondering here. And you have to be honest with yourself. And I think that, this is not a pile-on situation. This is just the reality here. And we have to remember, these are our fellow Americans. This is where MAGA is in a true state of denial about Trump. Trump already gave us taste one of what it would be like living in an authoritarian lockdown. We got that from Trump. Trump introduced to us the concept of a totalitarian world government policy lockdown and economic shutdown. Trump did that. That was Trump. We all experienced that. I don't know, maybe some of you experienced that, probably the vast majority. None of us have experienced that in our lives until Trump. And so it is not far-fetched at all from this learned experience to believe that Trump is going to do it again. And all signs indicate if that's going to happen, it's going to be from an energy crisis. And notice this energy crisis with an economic crisis is building up with this Iran war. And for whatever reason, Trump just cannot shake this issue of Israel getting in the way. Or better described, as many people have reached the conclusion, of Israel running the entire operation and sabotaging the United States of America in the process. As if the United States of America, our military, our economic might, our foreign policy, these are all just weapons that Israel is using against the rest of the world in their benefit. And this is the conclusion many Americans have reached, by the way. But before we get into that angle here, this happened over the weekend. I think this is very telling. Trump interviews Trump in front of Trump mural. And so that's actually what happened here. This is the clip. So Laura Trump, who I guess does a weekend special for Fox now called My View with Laura Trump. And she gets President Trump here for an interview. And I guess they're all in Mar-a-Lago I think is my interpretation here. Trump might be in Mar-a-Lago now. I don't know. And it's Laura Trump interviewing Donald Trump with a Trump mural in the background. And so it's just, it's It's a lot of Trump. I don't know how much more Trump you can squeeze into one frame, and I'm not sure we should suggest they try. But somebody replied to my post about this yesterday and said, only Trump can live this deep in his own mind. The rest of us have real things to worry about. This was there's so much truth there. I felt worth it reading here on the air. Only Trump can live this deep in his own mind. The rest of us have real things to worry about. Well, I think the last statement there just stands on its own. I don't think that one needs much interpretation. The rest of us have real things to worry about. So, but I think that these two statements, it's not just about President Trump. It's about the entire DC political class. They can't relate to the rest of us that have real things to worry about. And they're so deep in their own mind or their own contortions of reality and logic with propaganda. They're so far removed from the average experience of an American. They're so far removed from the lifestyle of an average American. It's unrelatable. It's like a foreign language to them. And that goes both ways. And as far as Trump is concerned, I do think there is something happening here psychologically. Only Trump can live this deep in his own mind. And it's like when you're that caught up in yourself, you really do become completely blinded to the rest of the world. And it feels like that's what's happening here. And that might be the most innocent explanation of why this second administration has been such a betrayal. That might be the most innocent explanation. But there's got to be some explanation. We're just trying to figure it out. That's all. That's all. So we go into the Middle East. It seems like that's what you got to do. If you want to figure it out, you got to go into the Middle East. Netanyahu escalates attacks before Trump-Iran deal can stop him. Israel's harder push into Lebanon signals the prime minister's fear about where negotiations will go and how voters might respond, former ambassador argues. So again, here's the problem with information. Trump has already drawn a line in the sand with Israel on at least 3 separate occasions that they have blatantly violated. I mean, Trump has said it publicly. Trump has either made it as a public policy statement or even drafted up this policy into official agreements and peace treaties and ceasefires, and Israel has violated it every single time. Whether it's the West Bank, whether it's the Golan Heights, or whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Iran, whether it's the Gaza Strip. Every time where Trump negotiates a peace deal or a ceasefire and Israel's stopping the bombing and the killing in any of these one of 5 pre-mentioned regions or countries, every single time Israel has violated it. Every single time. And MAGA doesn't want to recognize this because MAGA now is totally beholden to the Israeli lobby, whether they realize it or not. The only question remains is whether Trump is totally beholden to the Israeli lobby or not. Most have reached the conclusion, yes. But notice how this never really gets addressed. Notice how we just pretend that this hasn't happened every time. It just conveniently gets left out. With every new stage, with every new phase, with every new cycle of this development in the Iran war, it's magically we just always leave that part out. And most recently, it is Lebanon. Trump has demanded Israel stop attacking Lebanon. I can't count how many times. Again, every phase, every cycle, every time we try to have a ceasefire, every time we try to have a peace deal, Trump says, you got to stop in Lebanon. And Israel never does. And yet this doesn't seem to change Trump's negotiating tactic one bit. One bit. And of course, Israel is the victim here. According to AIPAC, AIPAC is all out today. These guys are going nuts. Hezbollah is bringing war on Lebanon. The terrorist organization doesn't care about the Lebanese people. It serves its masters in Iran. So this is hilarious. So as Israel is bombing Lebanon, AIPAC is saying Hezbollah is bringing war to Lebanon, as Israel is literally bombing and bringing war to Lebanon. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And then as far as this word terrorist, you know, this is the new racist. This is the new anti-Semitic. You know, the Israeli lobby, Israel itself, or the Zionists in America describing any enemy of Israel as a terrorist, this is so worn out now. This is so beaten to death now. This has become so dulled now. It doesn't work. It has no edge. It doesn't work. When Israel is probably the biggest terrorist state on the country, you can't put an Israeli flag on your name and start pointing the finger at other people being terrorists. It's just, I'm sorry, that doesn't work anymore. That one's not working here. That's like a big fat man. That's like a giant obese person, you know, running around scolding people about obesity. That's like a big fatty, a big fat running around pointing the finger at people at a buffet for being overweight. It's like, dude, you're obese. So this whole everyone's a terrorist except us, now it just doesn't look at all what it used to look like. Now it looks like nothing but pure propaganda. And now people look at Israel as the terrorist state. So I don't know if they think they can just like pull some weird abracadabra. It's like, you're too stupid to think. Abracadabra, they're all terrorists, not us. I don't know if they really, it's like, do they really believe their own garbage? Do they really think we will believe their own garbage? And you'll have this, you know, all from mostly from post 9/11 lies, false flag propaganda from 9/11 is where they always kind of draw back to it. So, oh, well, if it's Muslims, it's 9/11, and so it's good. Well, that's not really working anymore either. Less and less people even believe the official 9/11 narrative. But I don't even know how much that's relevant here. The whole world is watching what Israel is doing. The whole world is watching this. Israel is the country killing hundreds of thousands of people. That's Israel. And then they're going to stand up at you. You just walk, I mean, covered in blood. It's like, here comes Israel, just covered in blood. I mean, just like ridiculous movie theater covered in blood and guts. And then they come up to you. They're saying, oh my gosh, can you believe they're out here killing people? Can you believe they're out here killing innocent people? You're like, you're covered in the blood and guts of the innocent. What are you doing? I'm sorry, this is not selling here. You're coming to me covered in the blood of the innocent, crying about the blood of the innocent. Doesn't work here anymore. Doesn't work here anymore. And it's crazy as it's AIPAC obviously doing this. It's like, AIPAC, we are not here for Israeli interests, and then all they do is work for Israeli interests. I mean, that's the entire purpose. And they're complaining because Israel is getting attacked today. Hezbollah is launching rockets and drones at Israeli neighborhoods, trying to kill as many civilians as possible. Well, Israel has killed Israel has bombed at least one hospital and one school in Lebanon, at least 2 World Heritage sites. They have forced hundreds of thousands of people out of their homes. Who knows how many people they've killed? And then Israel takes a hit back and they cry foul. I mean, this is outrageous. It's actually insane that we're witnessing and living through this. And that's why I go back to the question, like, how does Israel think they're going to get away with it? So they know they can't get away with it, actually. So they know they haven't gotten away with it and they won't be able to get away with it. So now their plan is to censor anybody that covers it. and launch a giant AI surveillance tech on the United States of America to spy on you. And if you would think about saying anything about this publicly, you're going to get hit with the thought crime. You're going to get hit with the social credit score hit, and you're not going to be able to start your car that day. So this is the big plan. This is the big reality that you're living in, and we're just trying to wake you up to it. That's all. That's all. And if you can't it's like, oh, it sounds so insane. It all sounds so insane. There's no way this could be going on. Did you not hear what I just said? They're out here killing people by the hundreds of thousands and crying victim about it. Yeah, that's how crazy it is. Yeah. Welcome to the party. Israel's Netanyahu orders attacks in Beirut's southern suburbs. So, I mean, here's Israel again launching total war on Lebanon. And AIPAC says, oh my gosh, why would anybody attack Israel? Why would this happen? IDF-Hezbollah conflict intensifies as military destroys terror infrastructure across Lebanon. Oh, they changed the headline. Oh my gosh, the Jerusalem Post changed the headline, guys. This was the original headline. They changed it. People already have screenshots of this. The original headline was this. Actually, they've even changed the subheadline. So now the subheadline says, the IDF may have destroyed over 10,000 Lebanese homes that were storing weapons belonging to the Hezbollah terror group since operations began. Oh my gosh, guys, I may even have to go back and find the original headline for this. The original headline was IDF. It was something like the IDF destroys 10,000 Lebanese homes, 10,000 weapon storing Lebanese homes. I think it was the original headline. Oh my. So, okay. Yeah. It's still the same story. I don't know. I'd have to go back. Basically, they were originally saying that, and this is what they're saying now, every home in this neighborhood was basically working for Hezbollah, which is, it's a weird thing to admit. So first of all, are you listening to this? Are you a weapon storing home? I almost feel I got to go find the original headline. I think I got to. Let me see if I can find this. I'm going to try to be quick. We're about to have our first break of the show. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Oh. I got it. Here we go. Here's the original headline from the Jerusalem Post from 2 days ago. IDF may have destroyed 10,000 weapon-holding homes in Lebanon. 10,000 weapon-holding homes in Lebanon. Are you a weapon-holding home? Are you a weapon-holding home? Do you hold a weapon in your home? So in other words, if you just have a gun, in other words, if you just, have a weapon in your house for self-defense or whatever, a hunter, whatever it is, you're a weapon holding home. And so you can be bombed. You can be bombed now in your home for holding a weapon. Of course, that could mean a knife. That could mean a knife. Anything. Every home is a weapon holding home. So now, I mean, by this logic, obviously, Israel should be allowed to blow up the planet. And so when Israel bombs the entire planet, those were weapon holding homes. Those were radical weapon holding homes. Ah. But let's even, because here's the argument that's going to be made. And I'm fine having this argument too. They'll say, well, these are Lebanese people working for Hezbollah. These are Lebanese people that hold weapons and they're in Hezbollah. So I would respond, so you mean the locals have their own agency? So you mean the locals have their own militia? So you mean the locals have a right to defend themselves? So you mean the locals that actually live there have made political decisions and self-defense decisions? They've made these decisions for themselves because they have their own agency and their own sovereignty, and Israel has decided to kill them for that? So that's what you're going with? Take it either way. Which one are you going with? Or is just anybody that will not be dominated by Israel the bad guy? Is that what it is? Including you, the American, by the way. That includes you. So they're destroying World Heritage sites. They're destroying Christian churches, Catholic churches. They're destroying old castles. And they've now destroyed one of the most popular restaurants. Israeli strikes destroyed renowned Lebanese restaurant. Well, it was a weapons-holding restaurant. There were knives in that restaurant. There was even a pot of boiling water that could have looked at an Israeli the wrong way. You can't have that. You can't have a pot of boiling water looking at an Israeli the wrong way, or the IDF is going to blow you up. An Israeli airstrike has completely destroyed the renowned restaurant and resort owned by Chef Hussein Fayyad in Wada al-Hajai, southern Lebanon. The facility, known as Arsh al-Maluk, or Throne of Kings, was celebrated for its distinctive stone architecture, scenic views, swimming pool, and role as a popular tourist destination. So Israel, of course, had to destroy that. That was probably theirs, promised to them however many thousand years ago now. We are trying to keep up. It's tough. Here's the restaurant, by the way. Let's take a look at what Israel just destroyed. Yes, and this is exactly what Israel is destroying all across the Middle East, if you will not bow to them. Very nice. The world is a much more peaceful place now, thank goodness. So this is the latest, though. This was Trump. This was Trump a few hours ago. I had a very productive call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, and there will be no troops going into Beirut. I guarantee you that'll be violated within an hour, if it hasn't been already. And any troops that are on their way have already been turned back. I don't believe that for 1 second. And that's I'd be stunned if any of that happened. It hasn't yet. Likewise, but this is Trump putting himself out there again. This is Trump putting it out there again to watch the world watch Israel violate another peace deal, like they've done every other time before. So you have to ask, is Trump doing this intentionally to expose Israel or not? Is this being intentionally done or accidentally done? The result is the same. Israel is less popular in the United States of America than it's ever been before. So is Trump exposing Israel intentionally or accidentally? Because this is just going to expose him again. Israel will attack Lebanon again. 110%. I mean, like, where can I bet on this? He says, likewise, through highly placed representative, I had a very good call with Hezbollah, and they agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them and they will not attack Israel, President Trump. Now, notice, this only happens after Israel gets attacked. Israel has been attacking Lebanon for the last month. Israel has been attacking Lebanon, killing tens of thousands of people, relocating hundreds of thousands of people, destroying churches, heritage sites, entire villages, entire communities. moving in, occupying. They have been doing this for an entire month. And then less than 24 hours after they actually get attacked back, all of a sudden, oh no, it has to stop. Folks, I'm not telling you who's good and who's bad. Let's be perfectly clear. I don't have a dog in this fight. My dog is the United States of America. And unfortunately, my dog is protecting Israel, which I don't like. But I'm not here to tell you bad and good. I'm here to lay out the facts. In fact, everybody's probably bad if we're really going to put labels on it. They're all bad. But let's just be clear on the policy here. Let's just be clear on the actual practical applied policy here. Israel can attack Lebanon and kill as much as it wants. Israel can do whatever the hell it wants in Lebanon. And the minute Lebanon responds by fighting back, everything has to stop. This can't go on. Israel could nuke the entire country of Lebanon and they would say nothing. And if a rock landed on Israel and it came from Lebanon, it'd be, oh my gosh, stop everything. This has to stop. This is out of control. A rock hit us from Lebanon. Yeah, we've been rocking Lebanon with bombs for an entire month, but a rock landed in our country from Lebanon. My God. Oh, it has to stop. And so that's the policy. Israel is allowed to bomb and kill and occupy and steal and rape and do whatever the hell it wants. And the minute you fight back, the U.S. steps up and says, hey, we have to stop this now. We need peace. We need peace. And I believe Trump wants peace, but I don't understand. Maybe we should realize the problem is Israel. Trump cancels IDF strike on Beirut after phone call with Netanyahu. After the call, Netanyahu announced that he had told Trump that if Hezbollah does not stop attacking our towns and citizens, Israel will attack terror targets in Beirut. So, I mean, folks, this is so crazy. I can't even believe that. I mean, we're all watching it. I understand how corrupt our media is. I understand how corrupt our politicians are. And then obviously whatever goes on with Netanyahu. But this is such gaslighting. And here, it's like, why does every neighbor of Israel hate it so much? If you believe that narrative, which is how Israel likes to, portend itself to anybody interested. All of its neighbors hate us. We've been kicked out of 109 countries. We're the victims all the time. We never have done anything wrong. Poor innocent us. And then here we are for the entire month of May. The entire month of May 2026, we've all watched Israel bomb Lebanon every single day. We've all sat here and watched it. It's not even like a conspiracy theory. It's not like shadow news campaigns. It's very public. It happens in broad daylight. There's hundreds of videos. You have news crews on the ground getting bombed. It's like for the entire month of May, we watched Israel attack Lebanon. And now one night of rockets going back into Israel. And it's, oh my gosh, if they don't stop attacking us, we'll have to attack them. You've been attacking them for an entire month. So imagine all of their neighbors. Imagine this gaslighting. Imagine you grow up in that region of the Middle East and rockets never stop coming out of Israel. Israel never stops killing people, never stops occupying people, like none of it your entire life. Family members, friends, neighbors, all these people have all been killed by Israel. And here's Israel crying victim the entire time. And here's Israel saying, we're being attacked. We're the victims. Poor innocent us. And it's like eventually you get kind of sick of it. And so you stand up to Israel, and then here comes the U.S., and here comes the White House, and here comes Congress and the Pentagon and the U.S. military, and it's sit back down. Sit back down. We'll decide. And then Netanyahu sits there smirking like that. You're damn right. I own you. I own you. Imagine not realizing that this is the case in 2026. Imagine. Now, what's going on with the Strait? Iran stops negotiations with the United States, vows to completely block the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian negotiators stop exchanging messages with the United States through intermediaries in retaliation for ongoing ceasefire violations, all by Israel, Iran's state-affiliated news outlet said. Tehran will also move to fully block the Strait of Hormuz, and oil prices went up more than 7% following this report. So who knows what's going on? Trump says he's in control, but then they say they have no control. Now the strait is open, it's blocked, it's this, it's that. Gas prices keep going up. It's all a disaster. And by the way, you know, the Pentagon is trying to argue this number of 30 billion. It's like right under, I think they said like 26 billion. The Pentagon, with that report that had a lot of other headlines with the Iran war report, he said, it's about 26 billion we've spent. I'm going to tell you this right now. That is bullshit. That is such bullshit. And whenever we get an actual number, which might not be for a year, whenever we get an actual number on this war, it will definitely be over 100 billion. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So they're covering this up. They're cooking the books. And by the way, they've cooked the books on every other aspect of this. I wouldn't be surprised that they're cooking the books on number of dead. They're definitely cooking the books on the price. I think they're cooking the books on the personnel that has been lost. I think they're on both sides of the ledger, by the way, because clearly they're lying about Iran's capabilities. That's what's so wild. And I can even understand the logic of Trump saying, well, I'm just going to say positive news, and that's just his philosophy, whether you agree with it or not. It's like, oh, well, whatever. I get the philosophy. I may not like it, but fine. Okay. Trump's philosophy is, you know, just say good news. Just, you know, we're always winning. Everything's great all the time. Whatever. That's the philosophy. Okay. But if you're an American here looking for truth, if you're an American here trying to figure out what's actually going on, the gaslighting and the lies coming from Trump in the White House are just ridiculous. I mean, they're just ridiculous, folks. I wanted to get all through this in the first hour, but we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we got some other kind of foreign policy related stuff, which is really foreign policy and then the domestic censorship campaign that is being launched against those that want to talk about foreign policy outside of the allowed boundaries. And then we will probably get into the tech news, data center news, and that will probably take us the rest of this hour. And then we got some other news and some slop before we sign off. And I'm not seeing anything else on the situation in Iran since Trump made that statement earlier. But we will continue to monitor that as well. And if there are any updates on that, we will bring it to you in live time.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
You know, we did have some economic news. We got a little bit more coming up as well. And if you're following the news, you can't help but hear economic news. And a lot of it's not really good, specifically with the dollar. Yeah, if you've got some dollars, a couple dollars in the bank, you might be a little concerned. Well, my money sitting in a bank, is that really a smart idea right now? What about bank runs? What about inflation? Cash losing its value? These might be things you're considering right now in this crazy economy. So if you are, you might be thinking about precious metals. That might be one thing that you're thinking about for your wealth is precious metals. And it's the right thought. It's the right thought. But what are you doing? Have you taken action yet? You need to call my friends at Allegiance Gold. Call my friends at Allegiance Gold. The phone call is free, 844-790-9191, 844-790-9191. And while you've got them on the phone, ask them about $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments, whether through your 401k, IRA, or savings. Our friends at Allegiance Gold make it simple to move into something real before the next reset, which we're all starting to get this inclination. It's happening. It's kind of what it feels like. So give our friends at Allegiance Gold a call, 844-790-9191, or go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. And folks, you've seen the volatility in the precious metals market. It might be time to get in now before this thing gets even more volatile. So that $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments, who knows what that could be tomorrow. So give them the call now, 844-790-9191, or go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. Protect your wealth because no one else will.
It's America's home for political play-by-play. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
By the way, forgot to mention, that also over the weekend, Trump made an announcement, a new ambassador to Turkey, Turkey, where Israel wants us to take over next for them, or however you want to describe it. He announced a new ambassador to Turkey, Tom Barak. He spoke very, very highly of Tom Barak. Yes, that Tom Barak that was in the Epstein files. Because, of course, I mean, if you got a staff and administration, if you got a staff of presidential cabinet, you go into the Epstein files, right? That's what you do. That's how you get things done. Yeah. And you better like that, or we're going to spend more money to convince you to like that. Israel just quintupled its PR budget to $730 million. Experts say it won't work. Well, that was a month ago. How do you guys feel? Did it work? Israel quintupled its PR budget to $730 million. That was a month ago. And experts said it wouldn't work. Did it work on you? No? No. Well, that's all right. If that doesn't work, they'll find a new way to do it. And by the way, if that doesn't work, they have another way of doing it. Ask Lebanon how that goes, or Gaza. That's their final solution for you. But this is, since it's not working, since the PR war is not working, World Jewish Congress President Ron Lauder and father-in-law of the next Fed chair, how do you like that? Here's how he says they're going to deal with it. Since the PR war is not working, here's the father of next Fed chair and president of World Jewish Congress, Ron Lauder, explaining what they're going to do.
The Jewish state is facing rockets of disinformation every minute of every day. There is no less a campaign to destroy the country. And it's coming from TikTok. It's coming from mainstream media, from the BBC, from CNN. It's coming from each posting, each headline, each fake photo of a starving child in Gaza. And these lies are no less dangerous than the rockets heading towards Jewish homes. And they are constant. Israel must create a new Iron Dome to not just fight this never-ending cascade of lies, but it also must go on the offensive. There should be a completely new and vitally important government operation with a new director, not just a political appointee, but someone who knows PR and news backwards and forwards. It should be a separate building. It should have a $1 billion budget. Some of the $1 billion should come from Jews in the diaspora. Diaspora Jews should partner with Israel in this PR fight, because in the end, it won't be just protecting the Jewish state, it'll be protecting the Jewish people worldwide. And Israel should use its excellent intelligence services in this fight. The Mossad and Shin Bet are second to none, and they must know where these lies are coming from. It just makes sense to use them in this fight, and it should be one day in, day out. When Israel is hit with lies, Israel should hit back twice as hard. Its response should be furious. It should counterattack every single hour of every single day, and no institution should be spared.
Now imagine I come on air and I say, Israeli interests want a $1 billion fund and technological operation to run propaganda in the United States of America and to run PR in the United States of America. And this organization would like to be accompanied by the Mossad to target anybody that they view as talking negatively about Israel. Now, imagine I said that. Well, that's what Ron Lauder just said, the president of the World Jewish Congress. That's what he just said. Now, this is where things start to get heavy. This is the conversation that we're having. This is the realization that many Americans are having. And it's important to understand where all sides are coming from. And the problem is when you're honest, when you're open and honest and willing to have the discussion about where all sides are coming from, you understand that the pro-American cause, it simply cannot coexist with the pro-Israeli cause. These two things cannot coexist. Only one can win out. And that's the ultimate head-on collision that we are experiencing right now. And for whatever reason, there is this arrogance and this entitlement from people like Ron Lauder that somehow the United States of America really means nothing. The United States of America is really, it is a meaningless entity. There's no soul. There's no real meaning there. And that's why they speak of it with such irrelevance. And that's why people like Ron Lauder and the World Jewish Congress can come to New York City and in the United States of America speak about America as if it's nothing, as if it's totally irrelevant, and if it's just a slave in its larger world system. Because that's how they view it. That's how they view it. Now, it's ironic, as he talks about protecting Jews all around the world, it's ironic that the very idea of Israel and the Jewish state is so you can go live there as a Jew in peace and harmony. And yet what is the population of the world Jews that live in Israel? So they don't even feel comfortable in Israel. In fact, they feel less comfortable in Israel than they do in any other country on earth for the most part. And you can certainly see why. But then it's like, okay, you come to our country for safe harbor, and now you're going to start dictating the terms of my country's culture. You're going to start dictating the terms of my country's politics. And then you're going to stand up there like you're some sort of royalty to talk about my country and my people like you're in charge. And we're just here to be a system in your cog of propaganda. We're just here to be a system in your total warfare against the planet. That's all we are to you. And notice, it's not even a second thought. These people don't care about the Bill of Rights. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about your side or issues when it comes to foreign policy. They don't give a damn about any of this stuff. They just assert themselves as entitled, saying, hey, no, we run the country now. This is our country now. You, an American, you don't have any agency here. You, the American, you don't get to decide how you feel about foreign policy. You, the American, you don't get to make up your own mind about this conflict in the Middle East. That's up for us to do. And if you don't agree with us, we're going to build an AI system. We're going to build an AI surveillance system, and we're going to team up with Mossad to make sure we strike you down. And these are their own words. This is Ron Lauder's own policy that he has the nerve to come to New York City and arrogantly express to the entire country. And somehow I'm the bad guy for having a soul to respond to that? I'm the bad guy for looking at somebody who thinks he's the king, the president of the World Jewish Congress? Let me tell you something from the American people, a free and sovereign people. Fuck you. You're the president of nothing. The World Jewish Congress has no agency here. The World Jewish Congress has no legitimate policy-making rights in this country. The World Jewish Congress does not have the right to take away my First Amendment, my Second Amendment, my Fourth Amendment. The World Jewish Congress and AIPAC does not have the right to purchase influence over American media and American politics and then somehow claim I'm not allowed to respond to it and silence me if I do. No. And the only reason you guys are pissed off is because Americans like me are not going to be cucked. The only reason you guys are pissed off is because Iranians don't want to bow at your feet and kiss your boots. You do not run the planet. You are not in charge of the planet. You are not in charge of the United States of America. And just because you think you are, and just because you've bought as much political influence and media influence and everything else in between to try to assert that dominance, we reject it. We are still Americans. We are still independent. And by the way, less than 2% of us are Jewish. And not even half of the American Jews even identify as Zionists. You guys are the distinctive minority. Like the minority of the minority of the minority of the minority. You do not get to dominate us. And now that we are aware of your attempted domination, and now that we are very aware of your influence campaigns over our media, over our government, we're standing up on our own 2 feet and we're saying we don't like that. We reject that. We want to control our own legacy. We want to have our own agency in our country. And their only response is, you're an anti-Semite. We need to build an AI surveillance state system, and we will target you and strike you down with Mossad, a foreign country's intelligence agency. And they say all of this out loud. And then when you, the American, respond to it, or you, the American, cover it, somehow you're the bad guy, and then the very government that they claim they have no control over comes after you. And I have another example of this later on in the show. But you have to understand where everybody's coming from. You have to understand where everybody's coming from. Now, I don't know if Michelle Bachmann is part of their multi-billion-dollar propaganda campaign against America. I don't know if Michelle Bachmann is part of that or not. But we've seen Michelle Bachmann say some absolutely insane things about Israel. I mean, this woman is a total traitor. But here she is, another one. So again, you have to understand where they're coming from. And I think that this is a very important interview clip from Michelle Bachmann talking about why people like her feel the way they do. Now, again, is this total propaganda? Is this bought and paid for scripted propaganda that Michelle Bachmann is reciting here? Or does she actually believe this? Maybe that's up for debate. But this is from Christian Broadcasting News, Jerusalem Update. Michelle Bachmann. So you have to understand where these people are coming from. And this is what Michelle Bachmann had to say over the weekend. That, to me, explains a lot.
I'm really concerned, though, too, that there will be distractions, because there is a very important issue in front of us. We've never had a clearer path to defeat Iran. And so I'm worried that the midterms concerns and also elections concerns in Israel, that both leaders will be distracted. I think that would be a tragic mistake for.
Oh, it would be a tragic mistake for Trump to priority America over Israel, says Michelle Bachmann. It would be a tragic mistake for the president of the United States to put America's interests ahead of Israel's. Wow.
Historical purposes. I think we need to stay on task right now, because I truly believe that if President Trump takes care of this evil now, I think God will deliver the midterms as well. I think that will happen. I think the same for the elections in Israel. I believe these men were appointed for this task, destined for this task. They're the only two leaders I can think of who would work together to defeat Iran. Can you think of any other political leader that would do this? And especially Israel and America. This is historic. This is a biblical moment. And that's why we need to pray into this for the strength for both men not to be distracted, to stay on task and get the job done. I believe it will happen. And I believe that God will take care of all the other considerations that might be distracting.
You know what? This is so batshit crazy that we really shouldn't even have to address it. But we have to address it because this is the actual ideology that runs the neocon right. And to get to what Bachmann just said, she's explaining exactly why the neocons and the Christian conservative right-wingers like this prioritize Israel over the United States. Now, again, you have to ask, is this totally bought and paid for propaganda? Is Michelle Bachmann just an illegal foreign agent like so many others? Or does she actually believe this? But that's what they're saying. Hey, Americans, you don't even really have a country. You don't really have a destiny. You have nothing. The only thing that America is tethered to is the fate of Israel. That's what she's claiming. And then she goes as far, again, what is Christian about this? What is constitutional about this? Absolutely nothing. And she says, oh, if we defeat Iran, then God will deliver us the midterms and God will deliver Israel the election. Well, I don't give a damn about Israel's election. And I thought, and again, since when do we care about the midterms? You were the guys yelling at the Panicans for caring about the midterms. You guys were the ones attacking the Panicans for warning about the midterms. Now you're saying, it's worth sacrificing the midterms for the Iran war. You guys have totally moved the goalposts on that. But see, this is where you get to this point, and this is what's really sad about it. And this is what's sad about it if you're an Israeli Jew. This is what's sad about it if you're an American conservative. Because now people look at Michelle Bachmann and they think, oh, this is American conservatism who says America has to be a slave to Israel. They're tethered to that biblical spiritual journey. Well, that's an insult to Americans. Conservative Americans don't believe that. And then she says, oh, everyone else is evil but us, as we're all sitting here watching Israel be the most evil country on earth. So you understand, like, good moral people, whether they're religious or not, good moral people now look at Michelle Bachmann, a voice and face of the Christian conservative right, and they think, wow, the Christian conservative right is slave to Israel. They are liars. They are propaganda agents, and they are evil. I want nothing to do with this. And we thought we beat that neocon right. Like, that was the whole purpose of getting Trump to beat Bush and beat the neocons, was we were moving on from that mindset. We were moving on from that philosophy. Now we're more deep into it than we've ever been. And it's grotesque. And let me say this. And I know, we won't speak of everybody. We're not making blanket statements here. But let me actually do a generational analogy. And since this is fair game because I'm picking on my own generation, the idea that boomer Christian conservatives have that somehow America's fate is biblically tied to Israel, this is so delusional, and it's only the boomer Christian conservative right wing that believes this. Again, not making blanket statements out there. If you're right wing boomer Christian conservative, you listen to the show, you probably don't fall into that category. Generally speaking, this is the giant psyop. This is the massive propaganda operation that has dominated specifically the foreign policy philosophy of boomer Christian conservative right-wingers. That somehow America's fate is tied to Israel's fate. Doesn't matter. America's founding had nothing to do with Israel's fate. It doesn't matter. Israel didn't even exist for most of America's existence. None of these things matter. This is the massive propaganda, brainwashing operation against boomer conservative right-wingers. And they all fall for it. And there's Michelle Bachmann in the final phase of this propaganda operation as it's winding down, as it's hitting its twilight here. Now, here's the comparison, because obviously that's delusional. Here's the comparison. The comparison would be to left-wing, liberal, communist, socialist millennials that really believe taxing the rich will solve their problems, or turning America into a socialist communist country will solve their problems, and that somehow the success of their future is tied to America becoming socialist or somehow taxing rich people. Totally delusional. But this is what many millennials, specifically millennials that end up on the liberal socialist left, this is what they believe. This is the propaganda that they have fallen into. And both of these things are so on the opposite side of the spectrum. It's like, it's wild. And I'm actually glad that I've reached a point now in my career. Well, people don't even know my politics. I'm actually glad, because my politics are actually just telling the truth. My politics are actually this driving buzz in my soul, like this clanking in my soul, in my spirit of an American patriot, that we are not reaching our full potential. Like, that's what drives me nuts. I want to see America reach its full potential. I know how our potential has been spoiled and squandered and squashed and smashed and stepped on and told we're not allowed to be it. That's what drives me. That's my politics. But I'm glad I've reached this point. People don't know my politics. Oh, he's leftist, he's this, he's that. No, I just tell the truth here. But these have to be. I'm not sure if you can find a bigger example of generational political brainwashing than right-wing Christian conservative boomers believing our fate is tied to Israel's, just total insanity, or left-wing millennial socialist liberal progressives that think taxing the rich or turning America into a communist country is somehow tied to their success. It's like both of these things are complete insanity brainwashing propaganda to me. And it's like these have been the two things that have been battling in American politics. And it's like, this is the last round. It's like, this is the last round. It's like, all right, Trump is the boomer's last stand. He's gone with the right-wing neocon, boomer Christian conservative Israel worldview, everything through the lens of it's tethered to Israel worldview, whether you actually believe that or not. And then it's the up-and-coming left-wing millennial socialist bent with, your Bernie Sanders types that have been there for a while, kind of leading it. And it's like, these are the two massive brainwashing propaganda efforts that are ramming heads, and they're in their final phase right now. Now, the left-wing millennial communist stuff has some staying power. That's a younger thing. But the right-wing Christian conservative boomer wing of everything tethered to Israel, this is their last stand. They've got maybe 1 or 2 election cycles left. Maybe. So Netanyahu knows this. The Israeli lobby knows this. Ron Lauder knows this. And the things that they're going to do in the next coming months might be predictable because they play the same thing over and over again. But yet, I think that they will be so desperate. I predict that their desperation is going to reach such a level, especially if the Democrats run on the anti-Israel platform in the midterms and win. The desperation is going to go through the roof. It's going to go through the roof. And then the things we're going to see are going to be so crazy. Because it's like they're having to speed up everything right now. They probably did not plan on putting us inside the AI surveillance state for like another 5 years. It's like that was probably Agenda 2030 level. Now they're like, we got to have this by 2028. These people are turning against us. We need this by 2028. And you can see it. You can see the panic. You can see the push. Every time they have one of these conferences, like we just played Ron Lauder, every time they have one of these conferences, they all say the exact same thing. And when they say it, it's like, oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're letting Israel run our country. It's a good thing we're censoring and arresting people to benefit Israel. That's a good thing. And then if you say it, though, you're, an anti-Semite crazy Jew hater. It's the exact same statements. When they say it, it's good. When you say it, it's bad. So I said, oh my gosh. And it's just like, here we go. More from AIPAC. So it's obvious how unpopular AIPAC is coming. And so this is their excuse, as AIPAC is now considered what it truly is, a foreign influence operation, a foreign country's lobbying firm. AIPAC is the victim of this, of course. AIPAC is the victim. They're crying victim today. Part of an orchestrated campaign to single out and demonize individual pro-Israel Americans for supporting candidates of their choice. Israel is a foreign country. For those that didn't know, just a quick reminder, Israel is a foreign country. A level of scrutiny not applied to any other group of citizens. Yes, well, no other group has the influence that AIPAC has in Congress. No other foreign lobbying firm doesn't have to register under FARA. And so, yeah, you get special privilege, you get special scrutiny. And then I love the final one here. AIPAC says, oh, it's tolerated and celebrated by leaders who claim to want a big tent. What? Oh, no. No. Let's be clear. MAGA became a big tent so that we could get Trump in and then hand everything over to you guys. And now you're not big tent. So let's be perfectly clear. AIPAC and the Israeli lobby loved the big tent of MAGA because it brought them the election victory. And after they won, they just blew the entire tent up. There is no tent anymore. It's just a giant Israeli flag. And now they're mad. Oh, now they want to talk about big tent. Give me a break. And this is where they're at, guys. This is where the Israeli lobby is at. This is their true level of desperation. And every time, how many times have you guys, by the way, when I have these debates, it's almost without fail. When I have these foreign policy debates, they almost always end up promoting the military-industrial complex. And they do it exactly as is right here. This is from Ambassador Mike Huckabee responding to a Joe Kemp segment as he's explaining the foreign aid that Israel gets. So Huckabee here, who seems to be a total traitor to our country, by the way, he says, Joe Kent is either not very smart or just dishonest. Israel receives $3.5 billion, but spends far more than that buying U.S. military goods. U.S. also receives intel, tech innovations, so that return on investment is many times more. New MOU with Israel ends aid and will be based on trade. So they always end up promoting the military-industrial complex. It's the giant money laundering operation that profits off of never-ending wars, which, of course, benefits Israel because most of the never-ending wars are against their enemies. So, yeah, that's called the military-industrial complex. And now they're losing the hearts and minds of Americans to such a degree that they're now promoting this as a good thing. They say, hey, we launder money and weapons through Israel, and it's all contractual. So, Wall Street gets paid off. The defense contractors get paid off. Israel gets to destroy and kill as much as they want in the Middle East, and we get a nice return on investment. See, this is a positive thing. Now, if you want to debate the merit or profitability of such an operation, fine. Let's talk about it. But if you're a Christian, if you are a Christian and you are proposing this as a good thing through the spectrum of Christianity, through the platform of Christ, no, now we have a problem, actually. Now we have a big problem. If you want to get into politics and foreign policy and debate the effectiveness, the strategy, the profitability of such a thing, fine. If you want to take the platform as a Christian, if you want to debate the morals of such an agreement, then stop it. There is no morality here. This is not Christian. This is outright evil. This is literally pure death and destruction for profit. And if you're a Christian and you're rectifying this, saying, hey, this is pure death and destruction for profit, that's what we get out of our deal with Israel, and you're making this argument as a Christian, wow. That is so shocking. And when you start to think about like the inversion rate of politics, meaning how much of what we consume in American politics is more accurate if you completely inverse it than if you take it at face value, because this rate is increasing seemingly with every day. You apply this to Huckabee. I look at this and I'm saying, I'm sorry, you are no Christian. And if you believe you are a Christian and you are espousing death and destruction for profit, then maybe you've been like demonically possessed. Maybe something inside of you has been possessed by Satan. Because this is so immoral and so not Christian, it's ludicrous that any Christian would even support such a thing. So if Huckabee wants to sit here and say, I denounce my Christianity, and I'm only saying this from a neutral moral standpoint, meaning I'm not even thinking about morals here. I think death and destruction in the Middle East, profit for America is a good thing, then fine. But if you're espousing this as a policy, as a moral person, or as a Christian, you are either satanically possessed or you were never a Christian to begin with and you're a total fraud. And that is where Mike Huckabee sits today. Now, this is where things get a little complex. And I addressed this last week talking about Spencer Pratt. And I said, I wouldn't think it makes much sense if you have an issue with Spencer Pratt and being pro-Israel. I don't think that would make much sense to stop that from making you vote Spencer Pratt and instead go voting Karen Bass. Now, it's a little different when you're talking about a local election versus maybe a Senate election or a presidential election, where that sort of a foreign policy issue carries a lot more weight. I don't think it makes as much sense to apply that to a local race like mayor, and yet this is coming up. This is coming up now, and Spencer Pratt kind of doubled down on this recently. And I still stand by that. I mean, and I'm going to play this clip of Spencer, but on a Senate level, presidential level, House representative level, these things have a little more impact on foreign policy. So if you want to talk about the Israel issue there, it's a little more applicable. But to me, it doesn't make sense to apply that with so much weight to a local election. And yet it's becoming a big issue. And now Pratt is having to address it. Now, there's some interesting things with this short Spencer Pratt clip as he goes on with Bill Maher. And so I'm going to look at some outside of the lines things here. And we can talk about kind of the Israel thing, but there's a couple important angles of this. Maybe least important as we pitch to the clip, probably the least important is that is probably the greatest campaign hat ever. I don't think I've ever seen a political hat better than what Pratt is working with there. He's wearing on the Maher show. So we got that out of the way. But listen to what he talks about here after he promoted Israel as part of his campaign and what has happened to him since.
I grew up in LA. All my best friends are Jewish. I grew up going to Crossroads. I've been to more bar and bat mitzvahs than I had been to church till I was maybe still tied, to the point where, of course, when I'm running for mayor, I'm going to temples. I'm supporting my Jewish friends. The level of psycho Nazi lunacy that came at me to just say that I want my friends and family to feel safe in LA, to feel safe if their kids go to UCLA. I had to see, if the only thing that came out of this whole experience, there's a lot of things, if I, God forbid, or God's plan, I don't win, to see what people experience right now just because of their religion is diabolical.
All right. So this is an important thing right here that he brings up. And I think we've all seen it go there, especially if you're active online. I think we've all seen it go there. And I think it's gone there to such a degree. The one person that kind of gets called out on this is Lucas Gage. And I'm not here to comment on that. But, Lucas Gage was a voice. I mean, he had like a top song on the topic of Israel, not exactly pro-Israel. So now Lucas kind of talks, he's in this new group that used to be very much vocal against Israel, and they're now kind of discussing this new low IQ anti-Semitism as kind of the buzzword. And this has been going on for a while, and I don't mean to target Lucas Gage. He's just kind of the example to use here. I want to try to, because I even see that conversation going too far now. But there is something there. And here is Spencer Pratt. He's actually talking about this. And if you are somebody that has a legitimate gripe with the Israeli lobby, if you are somebody that has a legitimate concern or disagreement about where the foreign policy is going right now, or Israel's leadership and all the different nuances around that conversation, these are all legitimate things to discuss. And yeah, if you even want to talk about Jewish influence, these are all legitimate things to discuss. Now, the problem is, if you're serious about that, what Spencer Pratt is talking about here, it turns off the seriousness of that conversation. And that's the problem. And so here's Spencer Pratt, and let's even give him benefit of the doubt, but geopolitics and foreign policy is not his thing. That's not his expertise. That's not what he's running for mayor about. He's just out here in LA. He's trying to run a local election. You know, again, how involved he is with Israel or not, whatever, he wants to stand up for the local Jewish community. And then what does he see? He takes a picture with an Israeli flag, and then he's never seen so much hate in his life. I'm sure that happened. So now look what you've done. Now you've taken a reasonable guy who might be pro-Israel, but he's not really invested in the actual nuances of the foreign policy. And now all he's really seen is the hatred. So what you've done here is you've completely now, you've basically, you have a burnt nerve ending where there could have been a further thought. You've now scorched the potential neuron endings in his brain that might have been able to think and consider further about this issue. Now he's not going to. Now he's just going to look at that and say, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. And so I think that that's where this debate now from kind of this new Lucas Gage community about low IQ anti-Semitism, I think that that's where it comes from. And I think it's impossible to not address that, especially if you're somebody that actually wants to have a serious foreign policy discussion, if you're somebody that actually wants to have serious foreign policy reform and get the Israeli lobby out of our government. Well, then this is not helping. This is not helping. And I think Spencer Pratt is a perfect example of how it's not helping. So it's like you don't then ignore the issue and let it be taken over by the low IQ people. You can't do that either. You kind of just have to try and hold your ground. But it gets harder and harder. And that's why most people like Spencer, they just see that angle of it and they're just like, I'm out. I'm out. Now, this doesn't only apply to Israel, obviously. Just ask anybody that isn't totally loyal to Trump what happens to you these days. Huh. And it's, you know, that happens to you too. But, you know, on that note, we might have to do some bonus time today. We still got a lot of news in front of us. And I want to take the final break here. And we will get to our super chats. So let's take our last break of the show here. And we'll come back and talk about the America 250 celebration news. And we talked a little bit about this last week, but it's going a different direction now. So we'll update you on that. Folks, if you haven't tried Crash Out Energy yet, what are you waiting for? And the reviews keep coming in. If you haven't tried this yet, it's my own formulation, my own proprietary blend, because I wanted an energy drink that was healthy. And I wanted an energy drink that wasn't just, a blast of caffeine that just gave you the jitters for like an hour, but gave you long-lasting energy and focus. So that's what I did when I created Crash Out. What I tried to do was, for years, I would go on air 3 hours a day, and I would take a bunch of nootropics and an energy drink. So I try to get 200 milligrams caffeine, and then I just, take a bunch of nootropics. And I eventually thought to myself, why don't I just make my own drink combination that has the mental energy and focus plus the caffeine in it? And that's what we did with Crash Out Energy. But this thing is so versatile. It can be an energy drink. It can be a focus drink. It can be both. It can be a pre-workout drink. This thing is really just an incredible drink. It can be a health drink. It can be good for your heart. All kinds of great things in this. Created by me. Nothing but rave reviews from the people that have purchased it and reached out. We're very proud of it. Crash Out Energy. Go to crashout.energy and find out for yourself. Crashout.energy. Find out for yourself why this is the official energy drink of the Owen Report. But more importantly, why this is really 5 to 10 years of research of combining energy drinks and nootropics, that ultimately this is the formula. This is the blend I came up with. Try it for yourself. Crashout.energy.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
I saw some people in the chat disagreeing with the last segment. That's good. That's good. We're not a cult here. That's good. I'm right, though, but it's all right. We like the disagreement. We like it. All right. All right. Final hour here. I think we might need the balance of this hour, if not all of it, to get through the rest of the news. All right, let's start with this. The America 250 celebration. This thing has really turned out to be sad. Now, who was it last week, guys? I'm trying to remember. Oh, well, okay. Last week, we were covering MAGA Twitter, MAGA X, and how they were attacking all of the artists that dropped out of the America 250 celebration. And we kind of did a little coverage of that and some of the people that have dropped out and what they said and some of the people that are staying and what they said. This thing has gone bad. This thing has gone really bad. It's gone really sour. It's actually tragic. And this is one of those phenomenons where, unfortunately, it gets looked at through the lens of Trump instead of through the lens of America, as it should. Now, certainly this is to blame on Trump because he's the one that makes it all about himself. And yet that shouldn't inhibit our ability to view things outside of the Trump vision. But nonetheless, this is where we're at. So because MAGA or Trump and anything connected to it is now so cringy, and now because anything connected to MAGA and anything connected to Trump is branded by that, now people want nothing to do with it. And that's why these people are dropping out of the America 250 celebration, because the truth is, it should have nothing to do with Trump. It shouldn't be about Trump. It should be about the country. And so, you look at all of these different performances, whether it was leading up to Kamala Harris's campaign or whether it was the people that performed for Trump, it shouldn't matter. So, remember there was a big concert for Hillary Clinton. You had all these people performing for Hillary Clinton. And it's like, they should be motivated to perform at the America 250 event. It shouldn't be right or left. Why would you be willing to go out and campaign for Hillary Clinton? Or it's like, I'm no fan of Meg Thee Stallion, whatever. She's popular. Okay. Well, Meg Thee Stallion shouldn't be willing to campaign for Kamala Harris and not for America 250. It should be, hey, this is America. It's not about left. It's not about right. It's not about Trump. It's not about Harris. It's not about Democrat, Republican, whatever. This is an American celebration. This is pro-America. But it can't be interpreted that way, unfortunately, because the Trump brand, now anything associated with that is tainted politically. The MAGA brand is now so cringe that people don't even want to be associated with it publicly. And so now this is unfortunately kind of destroyed what would have been a potentially beautiful celebration of America, a fun event, family fun, whatever, beautiful, America, whatever, even get rid of that. A fun time, going to this fair, seeing music, friends, family, fun, we get it. And now it just looks like the whole thing is destroyed. Well, okay. That aside, and maybe they can salvage this deal. I'm out. I'm already I was really excited. It was kind of my idea, quite frankly. And now I'm just like, ugh, whatever. Don't even care anymore. Well, now, last week I was explaining this is why in the culture wars, eventually the right wing always ends up losing. And it's like now was the time for the right wing to actually get like a level playing field with the left as far as the culture wars were concerned. And you kind of saw this in the comedy world. You kind of saw this in other arts and culture. And now we've spoiled it all. If you're MAGA, if you're right wing, if you're Trump, now it's all spoiled. The opportunities we had to level the culture war, we've destroyed them all. We've spent all our political capital. It's over now. And so that's why nobody wants to be associated with the 250 event, because it's got Trump MAGA branding and nobody wants anything to do with that anymore. It's not cool anymore. But we were covering last week how you had all of the MAGA people attacking these artists. And it's like, this is why they don't want to perform for you. This is why. The left never does this. Never. And so, hey, whatever. It's just like, this is just the reality of the situation. This is why athletes, artists, musicians, performers, whatever, this is why they never want to anchor themselves and they never want to tether themselves to right-wing politics. This is why. Because you guys always end up doing more war. And then if somebody just says, hey, I'm taking a step back, it's, oh, F you, screw you, you're a coward, you're a traitor, I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. And it's like, okay. By the way, this is what they do to me. So now Trump is attacking them. And he's saying, oh, well, we don't even need him. I'm just going to do a rally. I'm the GOAT. He literally calls himself the GOAT. Should I read this? You guys want me to do a little Trump here for some fun on a Monday? I understand artists are getting the yips having to do with their performance on Wednesday. So I'm thinking about bringing the number one attraction anywhere in the world, the man who gets much larger audiences than even Elvis in his prime. That's right, bigger than Elvis, they say. And he does so without a guitar. The man who loves our country more than anyone else. Is that Israel or America? I don't know anymore. There's no difference, really. And the man who some say is the greatest president in the history of the world. The GOAT. That's me, Donald J. Trump. I call myself the GOAT. That's how you totally know it's legit, because I call it to myself. To take place of these highly paid, overpaid, quite frankly, overpaid, third-rate artists. Third rate. It's funny, they were first rate when we wanted to hire them. We told them how great they were. Now they're third rate, they're no good. And give a major speech rallying the country forward like I have done ever since being president. That's right. Everything's great since I became president. Everything, literally everything's better. It's a golden age. 2 years ago, the United States was dead. It was dead. It was dead. I left it dead. That was me. I killed it. Now I'm back. Draining the blood, giving away the organs. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's hot. It's hot like a dead carcass in the desert with the buzzards picking it left and right, picking it clean. That's what we have now. It's hot. I don't want these so-called artists that get paid too much money. They aren't happy. I don't want to be surrounded. I want to be surrounded by happy people, not them. I want to be surrounded by happy people, smart people, successful people. People that know how to win. Now, who am I kidding? I just want people that are yes men. Let's be honest. I don't want smart people. Smart people would actually make me look dumb. No, I don't want that. So my copy of this Truth Social post, it's what we're calling it. It's totally true. Everything I say is true. I just label it Truth Social. It's like a mind game. I play on my followers. They believe it, though. I am ordering my representatives to look at the feasibility of doing an America is Back rally on Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Same time, same location. Only great patriots invited, meaning cult members. Cult members only. It will be a wild and beautiful celebration of America. Your president, Donald J. Trump. Ooh, well, they're probably going to cancel that from lack of interest. So it's really just petty. It's really just pathetic. Just we're going to burn any bridge. And then it's just at the end of the day, it's just all about Trump. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, man. All right. All right. We've done enough of that. Let's go. Let's go. NVIDIA and Microsoft reinvent Windows PCs for the age of personal AI. Now, I have to tell you, I was reading this story. I'll get these details probably mean nothing to you. They mean very little to me. I have a general understanding of tech. I'm excited about this because I think it's going to be the first major leap in laptop technology since the tablets ended up being like you could flip from a tablet to a desktop. And I had one of those. It was the Windows, I forget what it was called. I'm not traveling as much, so I don't use it. But those were pretty cool. About 10 years ago is when that started to happen. But laptops have mostly not changed until this. I don't even like the idea. I don't really use AI that much. I don't really like the idea of merging all tech with AI. But they get into this from NVIDIA. The 1 petaflop super chip, the full CUDA and RTX ecosystem, Windows native agents, a new beginning for personal computers, right? So what does that mean to you? Nobody knows. I don't know what that means. What it means is NVIDIA is about to launch laptop technology to the next level. And I like that. But it's clear where NVIDIA is going. Remember, NVIDIA wants to put a personal data box on your house and pay you for your personal data. They're integrating AI into these laptops so that it's basically already merged with AI, and now you just have an AI computer, essentially, is what it is, with the operating system that can actually run as an AI computer. And it gets into all the different stuff. Like I said, I could read all this stuff. It's not going to mean anything. You know, NVIDIA is really kind of leading the charge right now as far as personal computing and AI is concerned. I like NVIDIA. I like the president, Jensen. I like him. I think that NVIDIA is probably pro-human more so than a lot of other big tech companies out there. So it's nice to see NVIDIA coming along here, and it's not all Apple, and it's not all Microsoft, and it's not all Google. So it's nice to see NVIDIA making innovations here, because if anybody's going to build an AI that's actually like for the consumer and not just to turn the consumer into like some data mining operation, it's going to be NVIDIA. But we'll see about that. I know, yeah, look at this. People disagreeing in the chat with me again. How about that? I almost want to open the phone lines for your disagreements. You guys don't like it because it's connected to Peter Thiel. Well, unfortunately, pretty much everything is connected to Peter Thiel, so I don't know what you want to do about that. Folks, you're going to have to use some technology unless you want to become an Amish person. I'm a sellout. All right, we're going to open the phone lines for people that call me a sellout. I sent this out. We got a notification in Austin to a warning. We need to be limiting our water usage. Is this image? I can't tell if that actually looks like a dam in Austin there. Texas Water Board estimates $174 billion needed to avoid statewide water crisis. So the energy and the water companies have been warning about shortages, asking you to stop your usage. They just built more data centers in Texas, I think, than any other state. Texas has the most data centers. So these data centers that they're putting in Texas are crushing our energy grid and crushing our water grid. And now they're saying, oh, the Texas taxpayer has to subsidize the energy costs that all of these data centers need to the tune of $174 billion. And this is just the beginning, folks. This is just the beginning. If we go all the way, and they're saying, oh, Folks, we have more data centers here than like the rest of the world combined. If we go all the way with this plan, do you realize that the bulk of energy is going to go towards data centers in this country? And now you want to talk about an energy crisis. You want to talk about an energy cost crisis? This war plus these data centers will be that. They will be just that. That will crush us. So these things aren't popular. Keeping up with this Aaron Brockovich situation, this thing is going big. Aaron Brockovich, the activist who defeated a utility giant and inspired a Julia Roberts film, is pushing data centers to be more transparent. So we covered this a couple weeks ago. The Aaron Brockovich website reporting data centers has, last I checked, over 3,000 complaints now. Aaron Brockovich says people are angry because data centers are being shoved down their throats in secrecy. This story was everywhere today. Everywhere. It was all over. And so it's one of those deals. It broke a couple weeks ago. Now it's picking mainstream up. Aaron Brockovich is taking on data centers, and one word keeps surfacing in her investigation. The famous consumer advocate has launched a new website about data centers. She's getting flooded with responses. On April 27th, I put out a simple ask. If you have concerns about an AI data center near you, tell me about it. I expected some response. What I got was a flood. The single most common concern, more than noise, more than water usage, more than rising utility bills, is this one word that keeps appearing in submission after submission: transparency. Now imagine if these people understood why this was all being built. And maybe they do, at least to some degree. Large crowds attend countywide anti-data center events. So this was after in Coweta County, this weekend. And it was then covering how these protests have been happening everywhere. And if you're asking, well, where is Coweta County? Well, you need to take issue with the author, Don Bowen here. It used to be like basic stuff. You know, you put the location in these things, either in the headline, subheadline, the information on the images. They just don't do that anymore. I don't know. They just don't teach journalism anymore, I guess. So you have no idea where this stuff is. Anyway, that's Coweta County. Now, I have a video here because they claim that this is all AI, Chinese bots, and this is Chinese propaganda in a data center war. They don't want you to have data centers. So this is an actual video from Coweta County, and this Ainsley Brown, who had no social media activity, she's now up to 13,000 followers on X just from covering this in Coweta County. Tell me, does this look like it's a Chinese communist propaganda operation, or does this look like concerned local Americans that don't want data centers taking over their community?
Hey, you guys, it's Ainsley from Coweta County. Today we are out here with rural Coweta. There are 4 signing spots. This is just one of them. This just goes to show you our community cares. They don't want the data centers. They don't want the eminent domain. We don't want to give up what makes rural Coweta rural.
Guys, this line is not dying down. This has been going on since 9 a.m. Like I said, this is 4 locations over Coweta County that people are turning out for, showing up to, and signing this petition to end the data centers. Come with me and let me just show you how long this line is. Some people have been waiting for 2.5 hours to sign this petition. It's not just me, it's my whole county.
So there you go. Oh, but this is these are all Chinese bots. This is all foreign propaganda. Communist propaganda is what the Republicans are telling you ahead of the midterms. So that's not a good messaging for the midterms, but they don't care about the midterms. All they care about is this war now. No, this is a big issue. It's a big issue for the midterms. It's a big issue for America. And I was actually this, if you guys were tuned in, I think it was Thursday last week. Was it Thursday last week where I said the only issue I think that could actually make me vote Democrat for the first time in my life would be the data centers. That'd be it. The Israel issue wouldn't flip me because the Israel lobby has almost as much influence over Democrat politics as they do Republican politics. Now that could change, but still, that's not worth flipping. You look at all the cost benefit analysis. It's like there's really no benefit in voting Republican, but there's a lot of cost in voting Democrats. So that wouldn't do it. The data centers would. The data centers, I think, is the only issue that would make me flip and vote Democrat. And I'm not even committing to that, by the way. I'm just saying that would be the only thing. We'll see how serious the Democrats are about going after the data centers. Now, by the way, though, I got a little ahead of myself. The Trump DOJ, and I don't think we know everything about this yet, but the Trump DOJ is targeting people that are against data centers. And I say that I don't know, we don't know the degree of this yet, but it has a very similar trajectory as to what we saw the Biden administration do to parents that were against the LGBTQ ideology and propaganda in classrooms. Very similar trajectory. We don't know the extent yet, but the Trump administration is targeting Americans in a very similar way that the Biden administration did, except Trump is doing it over data centers. Biden administration did it over LGBTQ+. Now, I believe it was Thursday, and this one kind of hit. You know, every once in a while you do a unique segment that's just like original thoughts. It's not news coverage. And I talked about the data center thing would be the one thing that might make me vote Democrat. As someone who's never voted Democrat, couldn't even imagine myself voting Democrat. That's that. If there's a single issue voter, that could be it. Now, apparently, this is a trend. Now, for let's just say, I'm not telling you to trust MS Now. Okay, I'm not telling you to trust MS Now, but it is pretty crazy that I said this exact thing on Thursday. Now it's mainstream news. This is a report that they ran on MS Now. By the way, I'm in Texas. This person is in Texas. We have a major data center issue in Texas, maybe more than any other state. So this is all happening here in Texas. And, you know, this is a state that the Democrats have been drooling at the mouth to flip for a while now. They could end up using data centers as the issue to do it. Take a listen to MS Now on this.
Mile away, Cheryl Shadden says the noise is as loud as ever.
It's like living on the edge of Niagara Falls, or you're on a runway next to a jet that's taking off. But this jet does.
And can I just point this out too? Again, MS Now, take it however you want. They ran the segment. I can't help myself. So this woman, she's probably a Republican. I don't know. Take it however you want. It is funny, though. She's wearing a Gojira T-shirt. Now, we're going way deep into the weeds, but I can't help it. Gojira, a French heavy metal band. Gojira are also extreme environmentalists. I don't know if you would call them leftists, but they are big environmentalists. So it's ironic. Here's this farmer. She's wearing a Gojira T-shirt, which is a heavy metal band from France that is very environmentalist in their music, that you'd think would be against data centers since they're big environmentalists. I can't help but notice that. I'm just saying, if there is any propaganda going on here, that might be something, but they claim this is a Republican voter who's thinking about voting Democrat because of the data center. So I'm somebody that this does represent me, but I don't know if MS Now is doing propaganda or if this is real.
Take off.
Morning, noon, night, she even hears it in her bedroom, and it's changed everything about how she lives her life, including her politics.
Red or blue, if you vote against data centers, we vote for you.
A lifelong conservative, she's so angry, she refuses to vote for Trump-backed Attorney General Ken Paxton, who clinched the GOP nomination for Senate Tuesday. Instead, she's all in for James Tallarico, a Democrat seeking to flip a seat controlled by Republicans since 1993.
You're willing at this point to forego basically every conservative issue and let the Senate fall into the hands of Democrats if that's what it takes to kill data centers.
Yep. My entire community is going to break rank. Everybody. All of us. We've had enough.
Breaking rank and coming together.
I voted for Trump.
So if you want to claim, hey, that's MS Now, and they could be running Democrat Party propaganda for midterms, completely true. That is true. I will accept that could be happening here. But I will tell you that if that is the case, that doesn't mean that this is fake. Even if this is an MS Now Democrat propaganda piece before the midterms, which it could be, I'm telling you this phenomenon being expressed is very real. And, you know, I said it before they even aired that segment. I said that about myself. So I'll just put it this way then. If that is true, if it is true, which I said on Thursday, I believe it to be true. But that would just be adding fuel to that fire. If it's true, and there are many in Texas who have been voting Republican but will become single issue voters on data centers, that can flip the seat. Even that could even beat Ken Paxton, which, as you know, I told you Ken Paxton was going to win first. You can even go check my X account. I told you Paxton would win. Actually, the day Cornyn beat Paxton, I said Paxton would win. The day Cornyn won the primary but didn't have enough votes to clinch the nomination, I said Paxton just won it. So I knew that. Well, I'm telling you now, Paxton may have to go against these data centers if he wants to keep this seat Republican. That's how serious this could be. Don't underestimate this issue, folks. Do not underestimate this issue. And the more Republicans try to convince you that this is a good thing, and the more the Republicans push this issue, the worse it's going to get for them. They better just shut up. If this is part of the Republican Party agenda, for whatever reason, the big tech money, the Israeli lobby money, whatever, okay, whatever, you're sold out. If you guys make this a campaign issue that data centers are a good thing, you are cooked. You're burnt to a crisp. You're already cooked. You're probably already done for the midterms, but you'll be burnt. You will scorch yourself if you run on pro data centers. Just don't even mention it. Just don't even mention it. What about this Clarity Act? JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon believes Clarity Act is dead on arrival. So, okay, the banks say no good. SEC Chair Atkins says the Clarity Act will pass. So the banks are saying no good. The government is saying yes, good. And I guess Jamie Dimon is going to be very vocal against this. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan CEO, blasts Coinbase's Brian Armstrong, plans to fight Clarity Act. Some serious words were thrown between the two. Since I've run long here, I'm not going to go to the clip. But Dimon basically called him a liar in a less kind way. Clarity Act will be the biggest financial regulatory bill since Dodd-Frank, Coinbase exec says. So this is another one of these things where it's like I could read you the stories. Here's what it sounds to me what's going on. So originally, and crypto is still down 50% since Trump took office. The markets are way up, though. I will say the markets are almost suspiciously up. That makes me might want to do another bailout. I did a bailout in the early 2026 phase. It was very beneficial. Now I'm kind of back up to normal standing. I'm not really doing swing or day trades, but, monitoring things, getting some long-term things. The market is so up right now, it's almost suspicious that I'm thinking about going out totally again, except with maybe like Tesla and Nvidia, because I'm a believer, which my audience will attack me for. So here's the deal with crypto. So crypto was this idea or concept. Now, some people will say it was a scam all along, but let's just not consider that for this coverage. The whole point was the currency is corrupt, the Federal Reserve is corrupt, and it's basically a fiat currency that's doomed to fail. So the idea of crypto was it's an organic, free market currency that gives the people the power. It takes the power away from the central banks and it gives it back to the people. And then eventually, if you can cross a threshold, eventually the people just become the bank. And we're now engaging in a currency that is not tethered to any centralized system, but between we, the people. Well, I think crypto is too big now. I don't know if that's even possible anymore, because now there is so government oversight and the government is directly involved. And there's been so many scams with crypto now, it's almost like they have no choice. So now that crypto, which all of these industries used to ignore, now crypto that used to laugh and scoff at the banks, the government, they used to scoff at the idea of crypto. Well, now they've admitted defeat. So now they're all in crypto. And so you have the banks that look at it and they're saying, okay, we're embracing crypto and we just want it regulated. We want it regulated just like our cash is. We want crypto to be regulated just like any other currency. And then the government is kind of treating it as something different. And they want it treated not like a currency, maybe like the stock market, but they want to balance keeping it the idea of a free market currency, but have some ties to the government oversight. And then the bankers are saying, no, it needs full regulation. So that seems to be the battle here. So the banks know it's a threat potentially to them bottom line. So they don't like it. They want it to be regulated. But the crypto guys that are now in there are saying, well, if we get some sort of a government recognition here, we can mainstream it and actually make it more valuable. So the whole purpose, it seems the entire original purpose of cryptocurrencies is dead. And now it's just an establishment. It's another political Washington, D.C. establishment fight as to who's going to control it. And that's when it gets corrupted. Here's another example. You won't hear about this on Fox News. White House intervention bolsters Trump Jr. connected rare earths firm. Oh, another, Imagine if the Bidens did this. Imagine. So this is a company, Vulcan, that the Trump family got involved with financially, and then got a massive loan from the Pentagon. Imagine if the Biden administration did this. The White House intervened to get a $620 million deal for a company tied to Donald Trump Jr. About 3 months before the Pentagon announced plans to lend money to Vulcan Elements, Trump Jr.'s venture capital firm took an undisclosed stake in the company. Now imagine, let's just read the headline and see what the response would be. The White House intervened to get a $620 million deal for a company connected to Hunter Biden. About 3 months before the Pentagon announced plans to lend money to Vulcan Elements, Hunter Biden venture capital firm took an undisclosed stake in the company. How would that hit if it was the Bidens doing this when Joe Biden was in office instead of Trump doing this while he's in office? How would that hit? We all know. We all know. There was some new fraud pardoned by Trump. It's so ironic. They pretend like they care about fraud, and yet nobody has pardoned more fraudsters than Trump. Somebody actually did the math here. Viral Real Addict. So there was another one that just got pardoned by Trump. Trump has pardoned 77 people that stole from Medicare. This flew under the radar. Trump is selling pardons, which is enough to send Trump away. Well, we'll see if any of that becomes true. But these numbers are true. Somebody added up. This is just the people that were forgiven that owed fines. So the pardons from Trump, he has pardoned over $1 trillion of fraud relief. You heard that right. Over $1 trillion of fraud pardoned by Trump, who's against fraud. Very good. Very nice. Guys, you may remember this story from the beginning of May. There were a couple of these headlines. We covered them on the show. American men are vanishing from the workforce. So again, that was beginning of May. This was May 8th. Washington Post. Why young and old men are leaving the labor force at record rates. The share of American men searching for a job hit the lowest level since 1948, Labor Department shows. And then over the weekend, the New York Post picks this one up. 1 in 3 American men are not working in nearly 20-year low. Here's what's behind the staggering statistic. So, why are American men not working anymore? Well, because non-American men are being flown in, and more people are going on to welfare because it still exists. And it's easier to go on welfare than it is to work and pay your bills, and that's just the truth. And that's getting worse. Okay, many people don't realize this, and I know that because he's not getting brought up in these stories. Michael Savage has been banned from the UK for decades. And I remember when that happened. And I also remember how many people stabbed Michael Savage in the back after he got banned from going to the UK. Now, none of that is being brought up. And I guess people would consider Michael Savage a right-wing talk show host, but nonetheless, he's been banned. Well, now you've got 2 more Americans that are banned from entering the UK. Why have 2 U.S. commentators been banned from entering the UK? Shank Urgar and Hassan Piker were supposed to address events at South by Southwest London before their ETAs were canceled by Shabana Mahmood, which is ironic. At least Piker has alleged that this is because of his criticism of Israel, but they've been banned by the British Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. Doesn't sound Israeli, if you catch my drift. Pro-Palestinian U.S. streamer Hassan Piker says UK blocked his entry over criticism of Israel. Now, he could be right. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. Again, as I was saying last week, there's just not much information on this. It's actually very strange. It could even be coming from the Trump administration, actually. I would not be surprised if the Trump administration ultimately made this call to have Piker and Uyghur banned from the UK. I'm also conspiratorial here. I'm also curious if it doesn't have something to do with if there's another investigation going on and they're afraid that they are going to flee the country. specifically Hassan, because he was the one alluding to something else going on as, quote unquote, very serious. I think it's what he told his audience. Very serious. Doesn't give much detail. I wouldn't be surprised if it was U.S. Homeland Security that called the UK and said, ban them from entering your country because they think they might be a flight risk ahead of some other investigation that's ongoing. This is me getting conspiratorial. It could be criticism of Israel, but I don't know. Nonetheless, they've been banned. Now, this is where it actually gets kind of humorous. And then maybe you say, well, okay, maybe it is because of Israel. So this was a Fox News post here. This stuff writes itself as far as the comedic value. I'm going to read this post here. Hassan Piker gets denied entry to the UK over alleged anti-Semitism, then immediately blames Israel advocacy organizations for wielding unbelievable amounts of power over British policy. So it's, interpreting this, it's like Piker believes it's because of his criticism of Israel, but then Fox News is saying that that's a ridiculous thing to believe. So it sounds like they're sarcastically saying he's blaming Israel groups for this, like that's some sort of a reach or outrageous idea. But then they follow it up with this. The streamer's response to the ban landed on a classic anti-Semitic trope about Jewish influence, even as he insisted he harbors no anti-Semitism. British Jewish groups and a Labour MP had urged the government to block his visit, citing his comments about Hamas, Hezbollah, and claims that the U.S. deserved 9/11. So here's Fox News making fun of Hassan Piker, who thinks it was Jewish influence that banned him from the UK. And then Fox News goes on to admit it was Jewish influence that banned him from entering the UK. This is, wait, what? Ha, look at Hassan Piker. He's so crazy. He's so stupid. He thinks Israeli influence banned him from the UK. Oh, what an anti-Semitic trope. This just in, Hassan Piker is banned from the UK by Israeli influence groups. Okay, all right. But they shoved it into the same report. It wasn't even two separate reports. It was the same report. So like if you had one report making fun of Hassan Piker, thinking he was banned from the UK by Israeli influences, and then just made that as a joke and ignored the Israeli influence. No, they put Piker's crazy, thinking he was banned from the UK from Israel influence. In the same report, they admit he's banned from the UK because of Israeli influence. Oh my gosh. Who would have thought MAGA, the Trump administration, who would have thought you guys are going to make Hassan Piker more anti-establishment than you are? You're giving Hassan Piker legitimacy by doing this. You realize that, right? It's just crazy. It's just totally insane. And, I've never had any personal conflicts with Hassan Piker, whatever. We have differences in political philosophy and ideology, obviously. And, you can complain about his stunts and what he does on his show and the things he says. That's fine. But let's be perfectly clear. Hassan Piker has a First Amendment right as well. Okay? And you can hate everything he says. You can despise the things he stands for. But where are we at here? Why is it that we, as the right wing, it's like another thing we want to spoil. We took up the mantle for free speech. We took the torch. We took the First Amendment torch from the left when they started censoring us for speech. And now the right wing is getting into the exact same business of censorship. What are we doing, man? What are we doing? This is the chance for the right wing to actually show some moral consistency, some philosophical consistency here, especially when it comes to the First Amendment. And they're just going to give it right back to the left. We're just going to put the torch of free speech back into the middle of the football field here politically and say who wants it? We don't want it anymore because we want to censor for Israel. We want to censor for data centers. Really? Really? And let's see what happens. When Michael Savage was banned from entering the UK, right-wing commentators abandoned him. The biggest right-wing networks, most importantly and obviously Fox News, banned Michael Savage. Okay? And I remember this. And Savage at the time thought he had a lot of allies on the right. And Savage had a lot of big names, big right-wing media names, and they all abandoned him after he got banned from entering the UK. And he had friends that promised him that they would interview him, specifically friends that said they'd interview him on Fox News, and they all abandoned him. Now, let's see if the left wing does the same thing to Piker and Uyghur. I doubt it. And this is why the right wing can never go on a winning streak. And this is why the right wing can never maintain political momentum, can never maintain a tent, because as soon as they get the opportunity to empower themselves, they burn every single bridge they have to get that empowerment. With every freaking victorious election cycle, every single time, whether it's the president or whether it's somebody on TV, they all do the same thing. They all do it. And it's even worse. Have your legitimate issues with Hassan Piker and what he says and does on air. Have your issues. The left wing will still now stand up with him and stand with him. And I watched Michael Savage, and I watched the right wing totally abandon him when he got banned from the UK. And he's not anything like Hassan Piker, obviously. Savage, classy, professional. And the right wing abandoned him. And this is why. And this is why you'd be like, man, 2024 is going to momentum into 2026 and maybe 2028. We got a dynasty forming here. And they burned it all down. They burned it all. They sold all the political capital and they have nothing left. And now they're turning Hassan Piker into a legitimate victim. Now, we'll see what's really going on with all of that. I don't think we really know. It's just that's the difference between the left and the right. And you see it with this America 250. You've seen it with Michael Savage. You see it with MAGA. And now the one thing we thought might give us a little bit of a pulse here is flatlining. Trump administration plans to drop weaponization fund. What a disaster. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think more drama is building, but what a disaster. Meanwhile, in Turkey, Istanbul, Kanye West performs to 118,000 people in Turkey despite bans elsewhere. I'm surprised he didn't perform that one song. No, he didn't perform it. It might have hit well in Turkey, though, let's be honest. We just broke the record. Kanye West tells Istanbul fans he made history. I just want to tell y'all, we just broke the record. 118,000, largest stadium performance of all time. Is that true? Is that the largest stadium performance of all time? I feel like, Queen might have something to say about that. What about What about like 99 live? 1999, there were some pretty big shows. I don't know. 100. He says largest stadium performance. So I guess that would mean the music festivals don't count. But what about Queen? Some of the Live Aids? I don't know. Well, he claims it's the biggest. So just had a major successful concert in Los Angeles, now in Turkey. That's yay for you. Do I want to get into this? Let's just do it. I said I was going to do this, so let's just go forward with it. No more leftovers. We just cut through everything from now on. This is happening in North Dallas, Frisco, Texas. This is what happens. You can give credit to these Indian developers, but let's explain. The Indian invasion is happening.
Let's take a look at Frisco Mayor Jeff Cheney's biggest donor, Prem Kuladindi. One of the things I found interesting last year was the amount of donations to the Frisco mayor coming from Indians. In 2021, less than 10% of Jeff Cheney's donors were Indian. In 2023, over 55% of donations above $1,000 to Jeff Cheney were coming from Indians. And what that tells me is the Indians are buying up Frisco, Texas. And this is a perfect example. This guy lives in Irving, and he was Jeff Cheney's biggest donor. So why is that? First, let's take a look at Prem. This guy is a well-accomplished businessman. He moved to America in about 2001 from India. He has a background in pharmacy. He does a lot of real estate business. This guy is very well established. Prem and his buddy Sam own Medali Realty and Vicunt Developers. They have over 1 million square feet.
What developers?
Foot of real estate across the United States and over $250 million in their real estate portfolio. But this is where I have a problem with the way Prem does business, because I'm all up for people coming over to America and building businesses here. What I do not support is using the H-1B visa program to bring foreigners over to do jobs that Americans can do. And Prem has done that with his pharmacy business since 2017. He's had over 49 H-1B employees come be pharmacists and pharmacy managers. H-1B applications are typically approved for 3 years. So I took the salary, multiplied it by 3, and that's $17 million in salaries that could have went to American workers that went to foreigners. So Prem, I'm in support of you running a business. But what I'm not in support of you doing is how you're bringing over people from your home country to do jobs that Americans can do.
So this is what's happened, and I think that Muslims kind of got the jump on it, but that's a little less organic than what the Indians are doing. But what they've determined is they've realized how they can overwhelm the system. So like Muslims will all move into the same, district in Michigan or Minnesota. They overwhelm it. They get a Muslim representative, then a mayor, then it'll be a governor, and so on and so forth. And the Indians are doing a very similar thing in Texas, but it's a little more above board. It's a little more in the private market instead of the public sector. But they bring in these rich Indians, pharmaceutical money, development money, whatever. They build these developments. They have these companies, and then they just move swaths of Indians, and they just all come here. And so this is happening in Texas. Yeah. Oh, big red Texas, big red Republican Texas. Republicans are the ones doing this. And it's actually the political Indian community is like, they're all tied into the Republicans. They're coming up through the Republicans in Texas, not the Democrats, by the way. But hey, money goes all ways. Money goes left, money goes right. Money is money in politics. Everybody takes it. So, but it's funny when I see all this stuff about, Republicans and, foreign workers, Republicans are the answers. All this stuff. I'm sitting here in Texas. I'm like, red Texas, red mayors, red governors. Folks, they're invading Texas. Texas is like one of the worst places of the invasion here, by the way, run by Republicans. So Republicans aren't helping you guys. Okay. Trust me, in Texas, they ain't helping. All right. A little bit of good news, and then we're gonna slop it up at the end. A little bit good news though. Tina Peters is finally out, guys. Tina Peters is finally out. Singer. We will work on getting her on the show. I'm not going to rush her onto the show, but we can get access to her, I'm sure, if we wanted. And this gentleman here, Apollo, he was hosting for Tina Peters hosting a podcast while she was away. I've been on his show before, so we could get him on. But Tina is officially free. I wanted to play some clips. She got out. She went on with Bannon. I wanted to play a couple clips of her. But here she is with her message right out of prison for the American people, talking about rigged elections.
Seeing our country at 250 years gives me hope with the people standing up. My concern is, and as I watch this happening and everyone celebrating, is that I see these elections that are taking place in real time. The Mondamis, the Virginia governor, Spanberger, and and then what's going on in California and Texas and Maine, just all over the country. And I know that the Democrats are going to cheat, and no one's really addressing the problem that I spent my time in prison as retribution for, and that was exposing the election machines that allow the votes to be flipped. So that's the thing that I really, as we're coming up to our 250-year anniversary, I'm joyful that we still have our liberty, but at the same time, I'm very concerned and burdened with why no one is talking about this.
That's Tina Peters right out of a Colorado jail and going right on with Steve Bannon. And for someone with more than 600 days in jail, I'd say looking and sounding good. Good for you. Here she talks about it. It's so funny when you talk about the political prisoners that come out, and they all seem to talk about very similar things. You may recall me talking about this, but here's Tina.
The other thing, and I think I've mentioned it before, and I'll get into more of this another time, but is the drug problem in the prisons. And I'm not talking about the street drugs. I'm talking about the legal drugs. It's called Suboxone, and they put these women on these drugs, and then they keep increasing the dosages, especially before they leave, and they can't get off. I talked to one woman the other day, and I said, you really need to get off of this. She says, I want to get off of it so bad, but they won't let me. She said they tell me that I can either just cold turkey, or they won't titrate them down. And I believe it's probably a federal program. I'm going to be checking into that, because if that's the case, I would like for President Trump, I'd like to be more involved in prison reform to give these women and men a better life. I understand if someone's committed a crime, they need to do the crime and the time, as it said, but there's no way to rehabilitate them with the way that the prisons are run currently. And so I would like to be part of that if that's the way the Lord leads me, as well as election reform.
Yeah. How much have you guys heard this? And I think, when it comes to the political prisoner issue, it's really not something that's too common in our country's history, especially for Americans, right? So this is kind of a new thing. We've had to deal with political prisoners. But I think what that has done, and it's funny, Bannon, political prisoner. Tina Peters, political prisoner. Me, political prisoner. What that has done is it's this rare moment now where these issues that the federal prison system, the BOP, or even at the state level, which Tina Peters was at, it's taken these issues that have been haunting our justice system and our prison system, our incarceration system, however you want to label this. For the first time, now that we have all these political prisoners, they can get out of jail, and they actually have a platform, and they actually have an audience where they can talk about this stuff. And so, you may recall, I was on a huge bent about prison reform and justice reform after I got out. And, you just fall back into the cycle of politics. Unfortunately, I'm like, I'm so disenfranchised on any political action. I'm like, I don't even want to get involved in political activity anymore. I don't even want to get involved in political activism anymore. I'm so disenfranchised right now. I just want to stick to doing news every day. But I would say when, but if and when I talk to Tina Peters or her people, I'll probably bring that up and offer myself as a voice, or if they want any help as far as prison reform and justice reform, because that is something that is a winning issue, and that is something that is long overdue. And I think that it could even be a domino type of situation where if we can get the attention here, we can really do some serious justice reform in this country, which is both sides agree on, I think. I think both sides agree on it. And it's something that the right wing has always shied away from. But now that we've seen the political prisoners and they can come out and tell these stories, it's something that they can at least be willing to discuss potentially. So if she decides to really commit to that, I'm so disenfranchised on political activism. It's like, I don't even know if I want to do it ever again, quite frankly. But if Tina's serious about launching something for prison reform and justice reform, I think I would volunteer to help her as much as I possibly could, because I do think that that's something that our country needs. And it's also funny, she talks about Suboxone. I wonder if that's not a big pharma thing, why they push the Suboxone. Because it's funny when she talks about it, my experience was they give Suboxone away like candy, especially in the federal system, where they'll put a lot of people that, you've been caught using or dealing drugs. So you can make the claim you're an addict, whether you are or not. It's like a game. They game the system. And then they give you the Suboxone, and then they just end up selling the Suboxone, and it just ends up becoming like a jail drug. But I wonder if the Suboxone isn't pushed into the federal system by Big Pharma. I wonder. All right, one last thing here from newly freed Tina Peters.
Tina, tell us what's it like to be finally a free woman?
Steve, I'm not even sure yet. After 606 days in prison, it's been quite the ordeal, but I really want to thank God for his faithfulness and getting me through it. And, it's been, I think probably for me, Steve, to impress upon every person out there how hard it is to lose your liberty, how easy it is to lose your liberty, but how hard it is to endure it. And, and I'm so grateful to the supporters out there that have stood with me. My close circle, Marcy, my best friend, who I called every day. After they kept putting me in the hole, she made me promise to call her in the morning and at night every day. So people that wanted to get me a message could always reach her. And of course, with Apollo and Jared and Barbara and, the other ones that have stood by me, and especially my attorneys. John Case has visited me almost every week while I was in prison. And then the financial support, I still have a fight to go. I still, even though Governor Polis reduced my sentence from 9 years to 4.5 years, I still have a fight to clear my name and bring out the truth of why they came after me the way they did.
We're going to be paying attention to what Tina Peters is up to. And, we'll see if she wants to hit the ground running, maybe take some time. I'll be following up with that. I'm not going to reach out to her or her people just yet. I'm going to give it a couple days before I do that. And then we'll see if there's any interest on getting her on the show or not. And then I will also, as I said, I'll be offering her, if you're serious about, trying to platform the justice and prison reform message, I'll be a part of that, because it does need to happen. All right, some slop before we sign off here. So you may have heard You may have heard Jackson Dart, the Giants quarterback, he's getting a hard time for introducing President Trump at a rally recently. And then I guess, Jackson Dart's probably the leader of the offense for the New York Giants. And then the leader of their defense, Abdul Carter, maybe he's the leader. They've got Thibodeau. I think he might be getting traded or a free agent or something. Anyway, so Carter comes out and he's making public statements against Jackson Dart's politics, whatever. This is this is a sports talk show here. And this is what I've been saying. And this is why it's so strange to me, this weird thing with political talk now, where it's like people are afraid to debate. They are afraid to disagree. It's like turned into this cult mentality. It's turned into this, if you have a different political viewpoint or perspective than me, then I want to disassociate with you. And it's like, this is all so foreign. It used to be like, this is part of being an American, is debating, having different political ideas, expressing them passionately, whatever, and then, still getting along at the end of the day. And so this is kind of expressed here in this video. So apparently, they want you to believe there's a bunch of drama in the New York Giants locker room. I don't know. To me, this is how it should be. You debate politics. You have different views, different worldviews, political views, all of this stuff. But it's like, that's normal. That should be normal stuff. And so this is the stuff you don't hear, but is definitely going on. All you see is what they want you to see. But no, the truth is these guys talk politics quite often in the locker room and usually get along just fine.
In our locker room, we had my dog, Derek Wolf. He loved Trump. What did he not? And he was adamant about it. He loved Trump. It's so many different upbringings, so many different backgrounds in the league, man. You got dudes from the hood, from the suburbs, from the country, from the city. You got white dudes who grew up with black dudes. They act black a little bit. You got black dudes who grew up with white dudes. They act white a little bit. You gonna have different political views. You gonna have different religious views. I don't think it impact the locker room. They say you're not supposed to talk about like politics. Man, f that. The locker room talk about everything. And you're gonna have guys who believe something you don't believe. And y'all gonna talk about it. It probably turn to jokes. In our locker room, we had my dog, Derek Wolf. He loved Trump. What did he not? And he was adamant about it. He loved Trump. Trump gonna do this and Trump gonna. We used to argue with him and play around and laugh and joke. And at the end of the day, we all was at the wedding. He had married, we all up there in Vail at the wedding, kicking it like, that's our brother. To this day, we link up, Wolf, that's my brother. He loved Trump. Oh, well, it is what it is. It's what you like. You know
Not everybody has that attitude.
But in that locker room, everybody got that attitude. It'd never disrupt the locker room because that's not what we there for.
I love that.
We're here to win chips. It's guys from all different walks of life. We coming together to win the chip. Now, if there's a guy here like, bro, I'm making my cash. I don't give a about winning, bro. You think Nah, that's going to cause a riffraff in the locker room, man.
Now, I do wonder, because this is a new generation. That's Aqib Talib. That's Derek Wolf. They're not too far removed from the NFL, but it is still a different generation where I wonder if these younger generations can do it like the older ones, where it's normal to have political disagreements and live and let live. I wonder if the younger generations can do that. And I don't want to believe that they can't, but I do think it's different. And so maybe the Giants will end up being a story of success or not with that story. Can you have a defensive leader be a anti-Trump radical and then your offensive leader be a pro-Trump radical? And can the team still get along just fine? Maybe it'll be a test. But that's how it used to be. That's how, it used to be you had your political disagreements and you moved on. We'll see. And by the way, you should be thanking me for the sports slop. You should be thanking me for the sports slop, and here's why. Because what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you show up at work on Monday and everybody's talking about slop and you don't have a clue and you got nothing to say? What are you going to do? you're going to be thanking me for giving you something. What are you going to do on the weekend when you're out and nobody follows politics? People are sick of politics and they're talking up slop. What are you going to do? You're going to be thanking me. I'm giving you the most pure slop possible. This is pure slop. This is the only slop that matters. So when you sit down at lunch or when you're out with your friends on the weekend, out at the barbecue, out at the boat, out at the kids' ball game, whatever it is, and everyone's slopping it up and you're sitting there like, I don't have any slop. No, I'm giving you the slop. I'm giving you the pure, top of the line slop. So now you have something. When your friends are slopping it up, you can slop it up with them. You're welcome. This is me looking out for you. I know it's slop. You know it's slop. We all know it's slop. But guess what? People like slop. People slop it up all the time. Sometimes you just need a little slop. Sometimes you just got to slop. It's a little slop for you. I was actually upset. I saw, by the way, old DMT and I on the Spurs on, what was that, Saturday? Man, that was nice. Now, you know I had the Spurs since day one of the NBA season to win it all. I'm not going to make an announcement on that. I'm going to make an announcement on that on Wednesday before game one. Stanley Cup starts Tuesday. I'm wavering. I think the Hurricanes are the better team, but I think Vegas has the momentum. They're hungrier. They have the experience. I haven't made a decision. I'll give you the decision on that slop. But I was upset today. The the Los Angeles Rams have acquired Myles Garrett. What an acquisition. The Rams are going for it this year. And so, gambling is illegal in Texas, but you can still do prediction markets. As soon as the Rams signed Myles Garrett, I was like, bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl. That's got to be the best smart bet you can make right now. And I bet you once they signed Garrett, the odds for the Rams to win the Super Bowl just keep going up and up and up. And it wasn't available. It wasn't available in the prediction markets yet. It's killing me. Yeah, we're slopping it up. It's the end of the show. We're slopping it up. What are you going to do with your friends, your family that don't follow politics? They hate politics. What are you going to do? I'm helping you out. Here's the slop. Go to the trough with the slop eaters. You got to be dynamic. You got to be able to engage. You got to be relatable. Take the slop. This is the purest of the slop right here. Here you go. Here's another example. I'm gonna move on. You guys, but Vanilla Ice, he's gonna play at Freedom 250. Good for him. I don't care if he likes Trump or not. It's good for him. It's America. He says, I'll go play for Putin. I'll play in Iran. Music is not political, man. We're just entertainers. Get out, shut up, and play. That's what I like from Vanilla Ice. That's the right attitude. All right, one more sports slop. One more. I'm sorry, I got one more slop. One more sports slop for you. This is like, this is so weird to me. Illinois legislature adjourns for the summer without resolution to Chicago Bears stadium issue. I don't understand the issue, first of all. The real issue at the end of the day is always money. Somebody wants to make more of it. That's really the issue. I don't know why they want to move out of Soldier Field. I don't get it. And I will say this, it looks like the move is inevitable. The Soldier Field move is inevitable. I'm going to a Bears game next year. I'm going to Soldier Field next year. I've got to go. I've got to get inside Soldier Field at least one time. I got to see it if they're going to shut it down. And it looks like it's inevitable. And they may move it to Indiana. I mean, this thing, it's just these money grubbers. The Bears should never leave Soldier Field. It's always about money. But you know what's funny? This is kind of where MAGA is at, by the way. It's a perfect analogy. This is local color here. But I was, I just so happened to be in the St. Louis media at the time. It would have been, what was the Rams last year in St. Louis? I think it was like 2014. So 2013 and 14, a big story in the St. Louis sports media was the Rams. And is the team going to go or is the team going to stay? Now, most of the sycophants in the sports media are just like sycophants in the political media. And so they wanted to continue to get the access and the inside from the Rams organization. So they were all selling the big lie. And they were all selling the big propaganda that the Rams were staying. And so in order to get that access and get the inside scoop and everything else with the St. Louis Rams, almost the entirety of the St. Louis sports media was telling you the Rams are going to stay. Now, of course, me and Kevin Slayton hosting his show at the time, and I was producing it, he wasn't beholden to, the St. Louis sports media complex. Quite the opposite, you might say. And so we went on air for 2 years against like 98% of the St. Louis media saying the Rams are going to stay. And then it was Kevin Slayton and Owen Schroyer saying, no, they're going to leave. And of course they left. The Rams left. And we were right. The reason why I compare that to MAGA is because it's the same crap. It's like the Rams wanted you to believe that they were going to stay so you'd keep supporting the team. They didn't want you to know that you've already been sold out. They didn't want you to know the team was already gone. It was already over. And so we went on air telling everybody, hey, it's gone. The team's gone. The deal is done. And the rest of the media would tell them, everything's fine. The team's staying. And they would have rallies and they would have events and they'd have all this stuff to keep the team in St. Louis. And they'd do all this crap. And it was all fake. It was all fake because the team was already gone, and they would attack Kevin Slayton and me every day for saying the team was gone, and then the team left. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes. All right, Super Chat's coming up next. We're into bonus time already anyway.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
All right. Yeah, well, there's your slop for the day. There's your slop for the day. You'll be thanking me. You'll be thanking me. You hate the slop. You don't want to eat the slop. You don't like the slop. I get it. But you're going to be thanking me, tomorrow morning in the break room getting coffee. Someone's going to say, did you hear about Myles Garrett? And you're going to perk up. You're going to be like, why, yeah, I did. I actually think the Rams could win the Super Bowl. Wow, you're smart. You really know your stuff. Well, damn right. So you're welcome. All right. Into the Super Chats we go on a Monday. On an extended Monday broadcast. We always need a little extra time on a Monday, right? Tay-Tay leading us off. Empire of the Sun, Walking on a Dream, Cascade remix. I can't believe it took me like 15 years to find that remix. But I'm glad I finally did. Great stuff. Throwback, that album, by the way. Kind of a two-hit wonder, if you will. Empire of the Sun. Word on the street in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham may lose. Billy Cardano. Are you in South Carolina? That would be great news. I can't believe Trump is campaigning with him. Just, ugh. Pakistani American hack sentinel. The moment Israel sees the plan for Iran is going well with the U.S. and a sense that they would eventually have to stop the genocide, they will do 10 times damage. Well, it's already happening. Who knows who's really getting threatened and blackmailed and everything that's going on with this. None of it looks above board. Now, I will say a story just broke on Axios. I'm going to wait. We'll cover it tomorrow. A story just broke on Axios about an hour ago claiming, and I will say, Axios does have a White House insider. I will tell you that. As far as the legitimacy of the story, I don't know. But Axios is claiming that during the phone call with Netanyahu that Trump posted about today, he was basically ripping Bibi a new one and cursing him out left and right. Now, that could be a White House source telling Axios that to make Trump look good, since Trump is getting bent over and bitch slapped by Bibi Netanyahu in the actual results. So Axios is claiming Trump giving Netanyahu the tongue lashing today over this peace deal. Only time will tell as far as that is concerned. But I did see that in the news about an hour ago, but we'll cover that tomorrow. MX user, Trump needs to be impeached. It can't come soon enough. Every day he makes the lives of Americans and the world standing of America worse and worse. A lot of people feel that way. MAGA supports war, displacing millions, and complains about refugees. They support the cause, but complain about the effect. Make it make sense. Well, you just boiled down right-wing lunacy, political lunacy in one short sentence. So well done. Interactions with Alex McCarthy on X is awesome. Yeah, give Alex McCarthy a follow on X. Friend of the show. Friend of the man. Jose Montenegro. What's the difference between Iran and the U.S.? Sovereignty. Need a rim shot for that. Gen X Latina girlfriend got yay ticks at Raymond J. Stadiums in Tampa. When is that? You want me to go? Who wants me to go to the yay show in Tampa? When is that happening? Employ strong for life. You never skip a beat, Schroyer. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Dust Volt. What part of open, close the straight don't you understand? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald Jonathan Pollard Trump. Tina in Finland. Finland won gold at the 2026 IIHF Men's World Championship with Florida Panthers captain Alexander Barkov leading the team as captain. Yeah, isn't the rule they get like one player over 20 or something like that? Or how does that? I forget how those rules work, but they try to keep them younger and not professionals, and then they get like one professional in there. Finland's always good at hockey, but not quite up there with U.S., Canada quite yet. Barkov missed the entire 25-26 season due to a knee injury, but returned for the Worlds, his first competitive game since the 2025 Stanley Cup final. They could have used him in the Olympics. Every accusation is an admission. It's becoming truer by the day. Sasha has dual Finnish Russian citizenship. Look up Michelle Bachmann eats giant corn dog at fair. Iron lunatic. They're going to say it's AI slop. Say it's AI slop. Trump's just stacking paper. He doesn't stand for anything, which is why he falls for everything. Well, I don't know if that's the best. The first part is true. I don't think he necessarily falls for everything. I think he'll let you fall for anything as long as he comes out clean. Rash bags. What do you think about the XRP cryptocurrency? I've sold all my crypto, so I'm just totally out. I think the dream is dead on crypto. Now you might mine it, you might invest in it, whatever, if you think you can come out positive. But I'm out. Spencer Pratt now gives me Jamie Mitchell and Lives of TikTok vibes. Eventually we find out the real reason why they became conservative. Well, I don't think it's fair to put Spencer in that category. Because we know why Spencer is doing what he's doing. His house burned down. Now, you might not believe that. I believe that. I do believe that. But yeah, Libs of TikTok, Still does the work, but just it's like, oh, what do you know? Another pro-Israel right-winger that comes out of nowhere. Jamie Mitchell, Gays Against Groomer, somebody I helped platformed and grow the organization to where it is from publicity, and then she turns on me because I don't want to, be pro-Israel, bombing everyone in the Middle East. So it makes you wonder. It could be innocent enough is that they just love Israel, and you don't, because you're not Jewish, so it doesn't matter to you. Could be that simple, or it could be they were placed here for a reason. PFF heard about the $250 bill, which supposedly will have Trump's face on it on the David Knight show. Would you ever go on his show, Owen? God bless. I'd have nothing against going on his show if he invited me. We covered that. Actually, we predicted that. You'd have to go back into the vault. But the Owen Report predicted that Trump would put himself on a currency. We did predict that like last October. So he's trying hard, but it's not, he wants it badly, but it's not really outside of himself. Nobody really cares that much. And it might not even be legal. King Adal. Trump's beautification of D.C. for the 250th reminds me of what Newsom did in California when Xi came to visit. If we are focusing on the USA as a whole, I might feel different, but it looks like self-aggrandizement to me. That's fair. Clean it up before the big event and then leave it to rot, which will probably end up happening whether it's the agenda or not. I do feel like, and that was my concern that I expressed last week when I was covering this. My concern was it was going to be, okay, we clean it up. That's great. I'm all for that. And then we just let it rot again. That was my big concern. So it sounds like it's a similar concern. You think it's more directive about 250. I think Trump cares about the cleaning up of D.C., but maybe it is about 250 more than anything. That you might be right. None of these billionaires care about us, the hacktivist. Well, what if some of them care about themselves to such an extent that they have to care about us? I don't know. I'm not against all billionaires. I know that that's kind of a dissonant thing, whether you're on the left or the right, is you're just inherently, assumptively against the billionaire class now. I'm not the same way. I like to keep my, my approval ratings. So it's like my approval rating of Musk is probably like a 53%. Approval rating of Bill Gates is like a 13%. Approval rating of Bezos is like 46%. So I just keep them all on an approval rating basis. My approval rating of Jensen Huang is like 54%, probably. So it's not like I'm like, 80% approval rating. I mean, we're keeping them honest. But I'm not inherently anti. Thanks for bringing the clown horn back. You got it. Wayne. You got it, Wayno. It was a popular request. When we said free speech, we didn't mean you could just start saying things that we don't like. MAGA, baby. Golden age, Jack. Of course. Hey, wifey, how you doing? How is the couch? She learned her lesson. Shantyhum. Grateful for Owen. Thank you, Shanty. Thank you for the super chat. Welcome to the show. I think Metallica still holds the biggest outdoor crowd record. I could be wrong. I know they had a massive crowd in either Moscow or Berlin. Yeah, I'm a little skeptical of the Kanye claim. AC/DC has had huge crowds in Buenos Aires. I feel like the stadium technicality is where he's getting. I mean, 118 is obviously huge. I just wonder if that's really the record. I don't know what's worse, the sports or Levin's voice on your Elon simping. Couch. There's no water cooler slop anymore. Sad. Well, let's bring it back, Jen. We can bring it back. Make slop great again. How do you like to? We got A.J. Brown. It's a wrap. You must be a Patriots fan. It's one of those things in sports. It's like A.J. Brown, the Patriots are sitting here. It's like, okay, what do we do with these locker room? Is Stephon Diggs a locker room issue? It seems like that way. Maybe not. Is A.J. Brown a locker room issue? Seems like an on-field issue. Seems like a head case issue. So then you have to balance. It's like, well, do we want a receiver on the field that might be able to give us 100 and a touchdown any week? Or do we not risk it because he could be a liability on the field and on the locker room? But I did see A.J. Brown, a Patriot. Now, I think it's a death sentence, quite frankly. I don't like it. If I'm the Patriots, I'd rather go out and find 3 young guys and take a shot. I'd rather take a shot with 3 young receivers to build a rapport with Drake May than bring in an A.J. Brown who's like damaged goods. So I don't know. You got to weigh it. No doubt A.J. Brown might be the best talent you can put on the field. But is it going to get your quarterback where he needs to be long term? That'd be my I don't. You're celebrating a little early, I think. Trump just called Netanyahu effing crazy, allegedly. Yeah, again, I don't know. I mentioned that. We'll cover it more tomorrow. We'll see. That could either be the White House, because it is, look, Axios has White House sources. But you have to understand, sometimes they give you sources to give you bad information intentionally. So they could be giving that story to Axios to make it look like Trump is standing up for himself when really he's flopping around and bending over. I see it. My coverage tomorrow was going to be, I wish Trump would talk like this publicly, but either he can't or he won't. But we'll see. We'll get into more of that tomorrow. So Billy is in South Carolina. He was at the debate with Andrew Wilson. I'm the guy who gave you a standing ovation. Did we hang out afterwards? Because it's usually afterwards I get to meet people and shake their hands. But I appreciate that, Billy. Well, you know what? It should be Lynch. It should be Mark Lynch. And it was such a class act by Paul Dans. I mean, because that's how you defeat the swamp. That's what's so crazy is Paul Dans and Mark Lynch kind of showed us the blueprint to defeat the swamp, which is it's okay to have a heavy primary. And it's okay to have 2 anti-swamp Republican candidates going up against a Lindsey Graham. That's okay. And, you're splitting the vote. You're running against each other. Well, you can keep it clean. And then you have a mutual agreement that at some point before the primary, whoever is down drops out and endorses the other candidate to try to defeat the swamp candidate. And then that becomes the message. And so Dans and Lynch ran that operation and had it set up perfectly to actually unseat Lindsey Graham. And then Trump comes in and says, no, screw you. I'm the swamp now. So, but we'll see. That'll be an interesting one to watch for sure. A lot of interesting things happening in the midterms. That's going to do it for today. Oh, we squeezed one more in. Dust Vault, we made it extra sloppy for you. That's right. That's right. Slop them up. But you'll thank me. It's going to happen. And you're going to have to admit it. It's going to happen. One of these days, I'm going to be slopping it up. And you're going to be rolling your eyes. I don't want to hear this slop. And then you're going to take some of the slop that I made you consume, and you're actually going to use it out there in the real world with a normie. And then that normie might even be drawn to this show. And then maybe we can turn that normie into one of us. Whoa. Crazy. All right. 20 and a half hour break. That does it for the Owen Report today. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Give us a follow on YouTube. That's where you can give us a super chat. The Owen Report on YouTube. God bless. Godspeed. We'll see you tomorrow.